evening, everybody. I am a little worried about how Streamlabs just acted when I hit live. I am actually getting less and less interested in this particular piece of software, but we'll live with what we've got. Looks like, yes, we have quality options. That's what I needed. And I should be ready to go in a minute. Ah, damn it, I forgot. Let me just take a quick second and make sure that I'm tagged for Cultist Simulator. I am. All right. So, good evening. I'm sorry for a slightly later start. I was really shooting for a 7 sharp beginning, but I'm filling out job applications again. I actually had it's gotten worse. I didn't think it would, but it's pretty much a straight up case of a person who was managing me, just straight up bully. And it's turned into one of these situations where the managerial sort of role, like the items that come out of it, like basically the things that you can do and evaluations and whatnot, it's completely being used to to kind of cover up or gaslight or whatever you want to call it. And I mean, I've said my piece, but management doesn't seem to care, and it's pretty clear that I'm gonna have to go, or essentially just bite down and take it. So it's given me an excuse to keep doing job applications. If anybody's looking for an economist, I'm available. I should mention that in the government there was a news item that recently came out saying that a number of people from the communications staff for the Governor General's office recently quit because of bullying as well. So unfortunately, it's one of these cases where it's really easy for that sort of stuff to keep going on, and ultimately there being no consequences for for the propagators because they are quote unquote too important. But I have a little more comfort, I suppose, because in my case I happen to know that the people in my department talk an incredibly big game but are not really, they don't really count for anything. There's a couple people who are really good there, but like, this is going to make me sound like I'm the problem speaking so freely about it, but the fact of the matter is that there's really, people shouldn't be proud to be working there. I think it's the easy answer. Like, it might be an impressive sounding place to work, but the quality of work is very clearly not what it should be. But it's a shame, right? And the reason why I sort of start the stream with that, one, it's kind of on my mind, and it's the reason why I'm taking a bit of time to go through. But that is a good reason to play games. Take your mind off things, and otherwise enjoy the time that your boss is not paying you to put up with nonsense. And in my own particular case, like, one of the games I really like playing when I'm feeling pretty bad is Dark Souls, because what I tend to find is something that gives you enough of a challenge, something that gives you, like, really occupies your mind quite a bit. It keeps the darkness from seeping in. You keep yourself busy, doing other things, and as a result, suddenly the world's not so horrible. And I tend to find another thing that's really good for that are math textbooks, because if you're engaged with the subject really carefully, then there's not as much space to let otherworldly concerns come in. Of course, the drawback is that sometimes the real world starts pounding in and trying to distract you from something you might otherwise enjoy. But for those of you who are going through tougher times than me, or even their own difficulties, I hope you find something that works for you, and I'm going to try and do something that gives me a little bit of joy. So, let's continue on. I actually don't really remember where I left this all that well. I think we just recently founded a cult. And I'm falling into the old bad habits. Like, I'm never going to speedrun this game, of accumulating a lot of wealth and moving moving up at Glover and Glover, amassing a bunch of stuff. At some point, I'm probably going to need to figure out painting. We will. Okay, actually, let's do this instead. So, tentative evidence. We may need to get rid of that, or we may just let it die. If we don't generate notoriety, then I don't need to worry about evidence for about 10 minutes. If I take that time to buy up stuff, yeah, that's fine. Not ready to go full acceptance. Yeah, so I need to upgrade my lantern for sure. I think probably what I'll do is I will amass some money. I will let nature take its course as far as reason, passion, erudition, and whatnot's good. Oh no, actually, it looks like I'm gonna need to. So either I was gonna boost my erudition or I was gonna boost my lessons learned. I clearly don't have enough time with lessons learned. Ah, yes. Actually, I remember a lot of this now. So I was gonna try and spawn as much moth as I can. So anytime I get to put my passion towards something, I'll do it. All right. Let's not think too carefully about it. Let's just carry on. Oh, and I've got some restlessness to worry about, but I think I'll have to live with that. Okay, Moorlands. I've got the Orchid Transfigurations. I believe that's got some translation that needs to happen. Now the question is, do I have enough from Moorlands to... do I have enough money to justify another trip to Moorlands? I think I do. There's not as much that I'm going to get done with exploration right now, so let's get another book in the queue. I'm going to avoid dreaming for the... do I want to avoid dreaming? Let's risk it, because that might also generate some glimmering. Alright, so it's going to eat up the mystique. That's not too much of a worry. Looks like we got a patron, so that's going to be a potential source of money, although I'm not quite at the point where I want to put everything into money. Now, one small drawback I have here, so I've got a minute before I need to be back at Glover and Glover. Now, they are going to want my reason they're going to want my reason in order to be able to earn something. And of course, I just used the reason in the... ooh, actually, this might get a little ugly. On what is contained by silver. So I'm going to need to find a way to get some reason within the next minute, or I'm going to lose my job. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. I've got 2 erudition already. Great. Okay, so the reason for the patron comes back. Oh, look, it's Poppy. I don't think I'm quite ready to work with Poppy yet, but we do now have a red secret, which looks like we're going to have to shift everything over because I forgot. Apparently I forgot the Grail. Even though... No, that can't be right, because we've got the Order of the Bloody Cup. Am I going crazy? How did I found the Order of the Bloody Cup if I didn't have Grail to... Oh, that's right. We talked about the red secret in order to. Right. Okay. It's all making sense. Sorry. Again, it's been a week. So, okay. So good news on the reason front. We're going to be able to throw ourselves at Glover and Glover for a bit. I am going to need to figure out how I'm going to. I'm going to need to figure out how to get another erudition up or another glimmering. But for the time being, the moonlit road. I know this dream. A road crests a hilltop and the air is silver bright. Right, I picked up odd facts here and there. I mind the library. So I suppose it would be best for me to either research passion or research reason. Let's do a passion, and then what I'll do is I'll try and invoke Lantern as often as I can in order to try and advance. Crowds of sleep, rumpled fields, the wink of a river, a tingling chill. So no exotic cravings. That is going to translate into a well, first it's going to translate into a restlessness, and then it will become dread. That'll be the second dread, so that puts me in a little bit of the danger zone, although I should also be getting some contentment. Nope, it's the Cleansing Dawn, but there's something I can do with that too. Now I can slough off my flesh, patch by patch, tugging the tendons free like fibers picked from teeth. My skin lies like a shredded blanket. The sun heaves itself above the horizon with a triumphant battle yell. The light falls like acid on my naked bones. Pain will wake me and my bones will ache for days, but the sun's words are etched on my bones. Alright, so not my best dream, but I should be able to combine... Oops. So the doors of vision swing wide, a little darkness will mellow my light. Even dread has its uses. Hello, Erasmus, how you doing? So here we'll combine fascination and dread. That should give me a fleeting reminiscence, and that of course will help me get rid of the fascination that comes from an intensity of radiance. That's a shame. I mean, normally you'd want to try and take advantage of something like a six lantern, but I'm really not in a position to be able to make the most of it. So I'll just accept my fate. The Grail has touched me with her wonderful fingers. It's almost time to perform the work and begin the changes, but I must have enough Grail aspect. Exploration might find more. Alright, so there are some things that I can do to try and upgrade this, but it seems to me the most sensible thing right now is to just go through the Mansis. So, dedicated myself to the immortal pursuit of sensation. Upgrade this card further to make a sensation victory possible. I must be a true initiate of the Mansis. I'll need to work with Grail aspect to make myself palatable to the Red Grail. I'm sorry to do this to you guys, but I have a little leftover cake which I'd like to finish now. So. Okay, sorry about that. I didn't want to chew right into the mic. There might be a little bit left over on the plate, but... So... I don't remember how long it takes to read sentimental literature, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to lose this erudition no matter what. Which is a shame. I probably should have been a little bit more focused in my attention, because obviously the glimmering is down too. So... I've got 59 seconds... I think that might allow me to paint if I'm so inclined, but I don't really have any reputation. The question is there something that I can do with an intensity of radiance? Well, actually, no, hang on. There is something that I can do with painting. No, I can't, because I don't have any passion. Is it really the case that... Yeah, I guess if I don't have a reputation, if I don't have reputation, passion, or passion, then I'm nobody. It doesn't count for anything. All right, well, let's not get too fancy. We'll work at Glover and Glover, and I think I'll focus my reason towards an additional. Yeah, I'm not doing this right. Okay, well, double glimmerings, so that's going to take a minute. I'm clearly going to lose the erudition, but I'll do what I can to provoke another. Another erudition emerging. Exploration. I did say I was going to get more stuff from Orland, so let's get that out of the way. And then as far as talking is concerned, this is an interesting question. So, for now, I'll leave it be, but I should probably talk about... actually, can I talk about the... there's a fleeting reminiscence if this becomes... actually, you know what? It's probably better to get rid of the dread on its own. Okay. Let's keep it coming. So anything I can do to provoke... oh, hang on. Here's what okay, we've got... right, everybody's in the jobs. So, passion I don't actually need, so at this point I should be talking about the occult to anyone who will listen. Like I said, I'm a little rusty off of this, but I'm getting back into the flow. So I'm gonna have a bit of a backlog of books, but I'm okay with that. If hunters found notoriety, they will try to use it to create or upgrade evidence. If they're meticulous, they'll always succeed. If they're erratic, they're more likely to fail, but can occasionally create evidence without notoriety, which would be very unlucky for me, but not impossible. All right. There are more windows to my soul, but sunlight is not the only thing that passes through a window. Use this lesson learned with your imagination skill. So let's get a realistic idea of what I'm going to need erudition-wise. So if I brute force it, I'm going to need two 60-second periods in which I... Okay, actually, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to throw reason into study. I'm going to ignore my texts. So I'm going to keep this reason available for Glover and Glover. Oh, hang on. Yeah, I got to pick one or the other. Damn. This is the time I use the essays. Because obviously I'm going to be tired after a day at Mad King Brutus. Thank you very much for 12 months of subscribing. As your message says, 1 year ago. Damn, time flies. I would throw some money at you for a coffee, but you have bills this week, maybe next week. To be honest, renewing a subscription is already enough, and I'm not able to give you quite the same satisfaction because, of course, I'm not physically going out for my job, which means that the coffee money kind of gets aggregated into some beans at the grocery store, which is probably cheaper for me overall, although the stuff that I buy isn't actually all that cheaper. Maybe I just put too many beans in, but gotta have a proper cup of coffee, right? But thank you so much. Obviously, the support's there. There's a couple more emotes than when you were in last Mad King Brutus. And Ether Dragon, I've not forgotten you. I saw your message as well. Now, I might wind up cropping the other two messages. I think when the Eyes of Sin gave me those emotes, I sort of thought that they were finished, but I think what she had intended was that that would be the source file that she gave me, and that I could crop them so that they would look a little bit more like the others. So there'll probably be a couple of changes to those emotes, but again, I think she did a really wonderful job. I like how I really do like Aristotle's little chortle. And then I was on the fence about a sad emote, but she did such a good job with the expressiveness of the eyes that I decided to keep it in. So the ordering has changed a little bit. So there's a couple of things that there's a couple. I believe I put System 1 Smart, the Machiavelli one. I think is one of the base emotes now. It's sad and dumb are the two that are behind the higher pay. But you guys were asking for more emotes, and now you've got them. So I hope you like them. Let me know if you don't. I'm trying to be thoughtful in terms of what I put out. Did an entire grade 10 essay on Machiavelli. God, that was fun. Nice. So I'm assuming it was the Prince. Nobody reads the discourses on Livy. I'm a big fan. Okay, trembling in the air, the sun flickers like a shadow, dreams ripple behind the surface of mirrors. I must be careful not to drift from the waking world. Fascination may provoke visions. So I might be lucky. Well, one way or the other, something's gonna happen. So I'm gonna try and be like super quick. And moving on, Miss Moreland informs you, my stock is largely exhausted and the Suppression Bureau are taking an interest, so it's goodbye. This last book is nonsense, but I've tucked some interesting papers into the back as a thanks for your custom. So Moreland's is no longer an option for me. We've got Chiliarch's Lesson. This is a bone-deep story of the thousandmen learnt in antiquity of blood and its exits. To speak it aloud is to hear the sword hiss. Use this in a rite with a corpse and winter power, and the corpse will rise. You read The Prince regardless. It was on Renaissance figures that you had to do a seminar on. Machiavellian is still your favorite adjective. That's neat. I mean, one of the reasons why I point out the discourses on Livy is just because reading that you get the sense that Machiavelli was very fond of Republican government, which is clearly not what people associate with Machiavellian. But I mean, there's lots of reasons to find Machiavelli super cool. But it's kind of funny just, like the Prince is probably something that people should read because it's good to read good books and important books from history on its own. But I always find it kind of funny how if you read everything, well, not everything, but if you read a number of things that he wrote, you can see like he had a real talent for sort of a turn of phrase. Like he's a very good writer in addition to being like a good literary figure or historical figure or something like that. And it's just so funny that clearly his success as an author have sometimes led to people maybe not focusing as much on his work, but won't lie though, Assassin's Creed 2 started you on the path. Honestly, Mad King Brutus, that's one of the reasons why I like stuff like Assassin's Creed. For me, it was Civilization. Assassin's Creed wasn't around at the time that I was playing it. But I don't think there's anything disrespectful about getting into a subject because of a game. I think games do a very good job of showing you showing you what you might be interested in. Obviously, if your knowledge remains fixed to that subject, so if everything you know about the Renaissance is what you learned in Assassin's Creed, then you're missing out on an opportunity to learn something really wonderful and really interesting. But if Assassin's Creed winds up being that spark that leads you to read about something that you wouldn't have heard otherwise, I think it's incredibly snobbish if someone says, oh, hey, I got into the subject because I played a video game that I really liked. And like, well, you didn't get into that for the right reasons. Like, no, it's knowledge. You got to find out that there was something even cooler than a video game waiting on the other end. Like, who could be upset by that? Erasmus says, if Machiavelli was really clever, he wouldn't have been exiled and ended up with a lot of free time to write books. Yeah, one of this, actually, tell you what, guys, especially for Ether Dragon 98926, who was so excited to see me stream, and then I paused and never wound up doing anything. Let me take a quick minute with you. I'm going to share with you one of my favorite things that Machiavelli wrote. I'm not going to take too long to find it, but I'm like 90% sure that I can find this passage in my library. I'll be back really quick. Mad King Brutus, use that money on yourself, sir. Although I like Ether Dragon's idea of an AFK hype train. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. So, this is I'm rather fond of the Modern Library series. They tend to have some good books in reasonably affordable but attractive editions. Sometimes they decide to go for like the really classic version of something, which means that there's kind of lots of these and thous in the translation. Those are maybe not as exciting, but by and large, I tend to find these I tend to find these pretty attractive. So they have got a collected works, well, not collected work, but it's called The Essential Writings of Machiavelli. Obviously, it has the Prince inside of it, but it also has selections from the Discourses, The Art of War, and Florentine Histories. Clearly, The Art of War is not the much more famous work by Master's son, but rather Machiavelli's Art of War. Then there is in full discourse on Pisa, on Pistonian matters, on the nature of the French, how to treat the populace. Well, okay, there's a few, so maybe I'll shut up on those. But it has a series of letters as well, and because Erasmus brought up Machiavelli's exile. Also there's the Mandrake. I always wondered if the Humors of a Gentleman is the Mandrake. Probably not, but deep down, I kind of want to believe. I've been wrong on so many references in Cultist Simulator. Like, I called it, what did I say? It was like the John Wick, the Exile was like the John Wick or James Bond or something like that. Apparently there is a Netflix show, which was a big influence for that DLC, that I don't have Netflix, so there's nothing for me to, like, I just don't have that reference. So the letter is to Francesco Vittori. I think it's there's multiple letters inside here from him. I'm reading the same stupid line. Oh, damn it. I had a copy of this where, like, I referenced this so many times. I had, like, a really well-worn, like, bend in it. And I've gotten used to... Oh, here we go. I think I might have found it. Oh, nope, never mind. I can... feel bad, like you should feel bad for derailing the stream so severely. No. Also, for anyone into Machiavelli, the Renaissance generally, you would recommend Ada Palmer's blog, I think it's Urbe. I don't know how to pronounce any of that. Okay, yeah, it is. All right. So my apologies. It is the letter from December 10th, 1513. So this is again from the Modern Library's Essential Writings of Machiavelli, the translations by Peter Constantine. This is near the end of the letter. So Machiavelli is in exile at this stage, and in this part of the letter, he is describing sort of a day in exile. And I particularly like this passage. When evening comes, I return home and go into my study. At the door, I take off my everyday clothes, covered with mud and dirt, and don garments of court and palace. Now garbed fittingly, I step into the ancient courts of men of antiquity, where, received kindly, I partake of food that is for me alone and for which I was born, where I am not ashamed to converse with them and ask them the reasons for their actions. And they, in their full humanity, answer me. For 4 hours I feel no tedium and forget every anguish, not afraid of poverty nor terrified by death. I lose myself in them entirely. So that part I just like on its own, because I think that does a really wonderful description of sort of the life of the mind and reading. I kind of feel like that quote would appeal to people who like playing Cultist Simulator, because of the idea of living books and interrogating them. But another reason why I like reading a bit more of the passage is, and because Dante says, having heard without retaining is not knowledge, I have noted down how I have profited from their conversation and composed the sorry, I'm really bad at pronunciation here. The Principatibus, a little study in which I probe deeply as I can into deliberations on this subject, exploring what a principality is, its genus, how it is acquired, how it is maintained, and why it is lost. If you've liked any of my previous caprices, then I am certain you will not dislike this one. It ought to be received with pleasure by a prince, particularly a new prince. Therefore, I am dedicating it to His Magnificence Giuliano. It's like basically available wherever fine books are sold. Bit of the letter. So I kind of like that there's this wonderful description about, at the end of a long day in exile for a guy who really came to define himself through life in politics, life in the public sphere, how, despite being, tortured and exiled by the current government, he's able to put all of that aside as he reads. And again, I particularly like that line, and they in their full humanity answer me. But after such a beautiful passage that describes some of the joy of reading, to have the, where fine books are sold advertisement for the prince, I thought was pretty great. Anyways, like I said, I'm sorry for the digression, but I figured that's probably about as on brand as I'm going to be able to get or a game like this. No, you're fine. You will not be cut in half with the God, I'm trying to remember the exact term. Is it odd and stupefied or something like that? I'm safe for now. My adversary has not enough evidence to bring a case against me, and they found no new clues. For those of you who didn't pick it up, Erasmus was making a reference to the prince. Olaf, how you doing? Thank you very much for stopping by again. You've got a green sword. How did that happen? All right, curl my hands into the correct shapes and begin. We've got our job going. I was keeping my eye on the... Yeah, so this would be it. Mad King Brutus. I would have blamed you if I lost track of my timer. So let's see if I can game this. Oh, damn it, it's not gonna work. Ah, curse you, Alexis. Oh crap, sorry. I hit something that I shouldn't have in another window. Oh, this is great. Okay, I like the fact this is a smart people cast. I'm never sure. So, like, I don't want to sound too self-pitying on this, but especially when I was working in film, did I forget to pause? Especially when I was working in film, there was not always the warmest reception to sort of academic or other highfalutin thinking. And so there's a couple of reflexes that I developed. One was if I was speaking earnestly on a subject, I would usually kind of follow it up with like some kind of a dirty joke, just to try and like make it a little bit more, I don't know, personable, for lack of a better term. And then the other thing is that I've kind of learned that sometimes when you talk about stuff that maybe people aren't familiar with, sometimes there can be like a really negative reaction to that, sort of the, they think they're better than us kind of a thing. And one of the really important things for me is because I find ideas so exciting, I don't want to be someone who gets really excited about something, talks in a way that makes people feel alienated, and they wind up hating the subject as a result of, my overenthusiasm. So it's actually really delightful that I can quote something from Machiavelli that I really liked, and then have a whole bunch of chat like just kind of run in here and be like, oh, hey, I love that bit. Hey, have you read this blog? No, you haven't. You got to check it out. It's like, it's really cool. It's really cool to see that kind of a reaction and people sharing. The meditations. Yeah, I've got a copy. I actually got a Modern Library copy recently. It's been a while since I've read them. I feel like I should pick it up again. Knowledge is a city wall built stone by stone, and what waits in the darkness beyond the walls? Why would we need a fortress except if we had something to fear? The funny thing about the meditations was I was never really big on Stoicism. And then I went to university and I did a Hellenistic philosophy course, just something a little simple. It wasn't anything, like it wasn't like an upper level class or anything like that, but I got to actually sit down and sort of wrestle with some Stoics properly, and like it was assigned reading for which there would be a test, and so it's not just me kind of reading something and I'm going to get if it entertains me, I'm going to focus on it. If it doesn't entertain it, then I'm not going to pay attention to it. Like it's one of these things where school is imposing a certain discipline that maybe I wouldn't have had in other contexts. I've tried to get a little bit better about that in my day-to-day life, but it was really interesting. I kind of gained a better appreciation for the Stoics after that, and so I feel like going back to the meditations would be a lot more rewarding this time around. It's only when you quote the Divine Comedies in Italian that you get pretentious. Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? Like, I know what my intentions are, but I am somewhat conscious of the fact that if the way that I share it with someone turns them off of something that I think would actually be really rewarding, if someone thinks I'm full of myself, I'm not going to be able to change their mind, right? Like, that's just going to be a thing. But if I become the vehicle through which somebody feels like they're not a math person, or that, all those old, dead white dudes didn't know what they were talking about, that would be a shame. And I try to communicate in such a way that I don't give rise to those feelings. We perch on alarming Rietveld chairs in a windowless auction room with vividly burnt orange walls, waiting for the auctioneer to announce what he's offering. The reek of new paint makes the brain spin. So I'll wait for 5 seconds and see what comes up. Alright, the game really screwed me here. I should have been paying attention to the time passes. So while I was waiting for Dread to take out the fascination, I had despair, which I wasn't paying attention to because I was too busy reading books, and I'm in a little bit of trouble now. But that's fine, because there's places we can get contentment. Alright, a true and complete account of the Asclepian mysteries and the roots of the house. Well, we definitely don't have that. So a crowd of pinched faces, glinting eyes. Who will bid? The item at the auction is visible on the right. It will be gone forever if the auction is lost. And we've got money to continue to finance my book obsession. And I'm going to keep carrying on with that. I don't think there's anything I need to be worried about at the moment. I could try and get some contentment in Dream. Feel like it would be better for me to use the passion to get new followers, though. Especially because it might give me a glimmering. Come with me. Alright, we've got a hanger-on, not the most exciting option, but we can work with it. Now, so there's a couple things I can do. The Ecdysis Club might wind up giving me a contentment, might not. Or I could, roll the dice, try and get another glimmering. The thing about the Ecdysis Club is it might also give me notoriety. We're not quite at the danger zone with Dread yet, so let's keep talking about the Red Secret and getting the right kind of people in our society. Talking publicly about the invisible arts will attract attention. Perhaps that's what I want. All right, another bidder. Someone else has matched my bid. I must match it with more funds or forgo my prize. I'll feel a little bit better about going to the Ecdysis Club after the tentative evidence is gone. For now, I want to minimize the number of chances for me to generate notoriety. All right, Affliction, we saw that coming up, although it's ruined all my placements. So I didn't think to get Vitality. I'm going to have to work on that in a second, but that'll be fine. We should be able to manage. I reordered the boundaries of my ignorance. Now this is particularly welcome because at this point I now know that I'm relatively safe as far as using my reason for other tasks. But for now, there might be an argument for me reading Traveling at Night, given that it's moth related and as a result might give me more. But you know what? If I want to improve my vivid imagination, I need 2 lessons learned. If I do Passion twice, there's 120 seconds, so I've got a spare 50, and it's possible I might get another glimmering just from triggering Moth so many times. So let's work with what we've got. That does mean technically I'm not gonna have an opportunity to get some Vitality. But what I think I'll do is I'll pick up some heavy things and put them down again using my hardened physique. And I should still be back in time for work at Glover & Glover. The auctioneer makes a note of my name and signals one of the attendants. I have my prize. I hope it's worth it. So this is a Greek book. We'll put that by what is contained by silver. And we're doing not bad for money, so let's try and pick up another item. Perch on alarming Rietveld chairs in a windowless auction room with vividly burnt orange walls, waiting for the auctioneer to announce what he's offering. The reek of new paint makes the brain spin. Okay, crowd of pinched faces, glinting eyes. Who will bid? The item at the auction is visible on the right. If it will be gone forever if the auction is lost. So one of the problems I run into is I actually wind up hoarding too many essay collections. I should use them more often, but I am going to buy that. I may not put too. It depends on what my money situation's like. I may not put extra into picking it up, but. All right, so what I'm going to want to do within 38 seconds is get Vitality. If I don't have Vitality, then I'm going to need to spend funds, which I've got enough of right now. But given that we aren't in too much danger as far as our health, what I'll do here is I will take my Hardened Physique. I'll consume a health, so Arms of Iron. I will work with speed and in silence. I do not fear injury. So I've got 58 seconds before I need to go to Glover & Glover, but because of my Arms of Iron, I am done within 50 seconds, and that means I've got 8 seconds to spare in order to shop. I've got my 2 jobs, which, by the way, I have had to work. I can remember a time when I had 3 minimum wage jobs to be able to pay rent in Vancouver. That was terrible, and I hope none of you ever have to do that. All right, I'm a liar. I am going to spend 2 on that book. One of them was a movie theater, one of them was a coffee shop, and then for a very brief period of time, I tried a job at a food court. The job at the food court was a pretty lame place to work. So the good news so there's like, in the province I was living, there was like a 2-week probationary period, and it's almost kind of like a cooling off for the employer. It's like, if this guy really winds up sucking, you can sort of get rid of them sight unseen. I know, I think a majority of the audience is American, so I know a number of you have laws that it's effectively, they can separate you at any time and there's not a lot that you can do about it. But the big thing is that you generally assume that if you've gone for a job, and I encourage you guys, for those of you, because I'm going to be on the job market too, so insofar as you people listen to streamers for life advice, and please don't, because streamers don't know anything. But I'm going to do it anyway. The most important thing about the job search is that it's not just about you being acceptable to the employer. A lot of times when I've had to do a job search, it's because I really need the money and I'm really hoping that it'll go through. But especially now that a lot of places are hiring and they might have certain policies with regards to public health that may make you feel uncomfortable, part of the job is actually finding out whether or not that place is worth selling your labor to. And in one case, now obviously I wasn't doing econ at the time, so I didn't have these terms to use for the description. But it was the food. Look, let's face it. How many food courts do you go to, and the people working there look happy? It was a job much like you might expect. With all due respect to anybody who's currently working in a food court, that was definitely not for me. So, by the end of the 2 weeks, that was their trial period for me. At the end of the 2 weeks, I put, just before the end of the 2 weeks, put my uniform on the desk, see you later. And it was great. Some people say, well, you should have given them proper notice. And I was like, you know what? No, that law exists for employers and it exists for employees. And I am not under any obligation to provide them with notice when they are not under an obligation to me to provide me notice of it. It clearly isn't working, and I think it's better that we just come clean on it. Although, in general, I would prefer to, give people notice because that's a nice thing to do. Anyways, I did still have to find a replacement job for that after that. Mad King Bruno says, I remember when you slipped and fractured your leg at work, so you got to sit around and do nothing at home for your usual wait a minute. Well, I'm happy that it keeps you here, Mad King Brunos. I actually can't remember where you're still convalescing, aren't you? Or did I get my timelines mixed up? I'm actually spending 3 funds on reason. I should feel ashamed. I can't remember if you're are you still injured or are you back to full health? Man, I'm getting all the hangers on. Good news is we got the place behind Desire. It's a little late. Obviously, we've already got our sentimental literature, but that's an extra glimmering for me to work with. I think here, let's again keep going for the red secret. Oh yeah, was I saying moth? Yeah, I wanted to generate a bunch of Grail, not moth. There we go. The auctioneer makes note of my name, signals one of the attendants, and I have my prize. I hope it was worth it. Probably wasn't, but I still have cash, so. Well, the big thing is that, like, I know in the end I'm going to... Like, I know in the end I'm going to be sitting on a big pile of cash. So unless the very high expense of the collection of essays is going to put me into a place where I can't satisfy, the monthly rent, or I can't buy something else, really, I'm fine. Like, because I know I'm going to be sitting on so much money at the end, the temporary bit of pain for buying a really expensive collection of essays, in the long run, it doesn't really mean that much. But clearly I would have behaved like I would not always make that decision, especially given the fact that I don't really use them that much. Anyways, with our sentimental literature, let's take the stuff that's oldest. So Oh, actually, you know what? This will be helpful because I forgot I still need to combine the two glimmerings. So I'm going to lose that lesson learnt, but I'm going to be able to convert that one again. So that was actually very convenient for me. You're still injured. You have an ultrasound-guided cortisone injection coming up next week. If still no improvement to the PCL, you are more than like getting a full PCL reconstruction, but the individual fracture has healed, just the PCL. You now know a hell of a lot more about my body than I do, let alone yours. And two, I really hope you get better soon, Mad King Brutos. You're just thinking that your typical playstyle leads you to pile. Yeah, exactly. You should eat the dragon. Like this. So this is the big one for me. Is that the poverty mechanic still has teeth in the sense that it is quite possible to be, it is quite possible to lose the game through not having enough money at the time you need it. But provided you have, one, a source of income, or a reliable source of income, and two, you do not have any immediate expenses, to me it seems to make sense to pay as much as the game is asking to, for anything. So even if that collection of essays wound up costing like 6 funds, as long as I wasn't missing rent with it, it would be worth it. If on the other hand, because I mean, like, what's the worst that happens if I bid all that money and I still don't win? Then I just get the money back. But in this case, obviously, I played the game a lot, so I don't need to worry as much about eventualities. Oh, cool! Thanks, Mad King Brutos. Hey, Kerneringut. I already have Greek, so that's not as exciting as I thought. PCL is there to resist force pushing the tibia posteriorly relative to the femur. Okay, so I gotta ask you, did you learn all of this because of your injury, or did you... By the way, I'm not sure. I think I let these creep up over time. And I think I'm gonna change it so that Glover and Glover goes here. Did you know this already, or is this learned specifically because of your injury? Ah, cool, yeah. That's a really, I actually really like that attitude towards that kind of misfortune. I've not actually broken a bone yet. We've already got Latin, so there's no point in buying Gilded Sleeves. But yeah, for, obviously I hope I don't wind up with broken bone as well. But obviously suffering that kind of misfortune and being able to turn it into a chance to like learn more about something is neat. I try not to be too sulky when stuff goes bad, but it sure is easy, so... The auction is over, the lot has gone elsewhere. I retain my funds. Second broken bone, but you don't remember the first because you fell down some stairs at 3 years old like the numpty you are. I'm sure you had good reason for falling down those stairs. Alright, so we're going to wind up with a little bit of extra dread. That's a small worry here because that'll mean that'll be our second dread, which means we're potentially going to lose. But I have some things I can do. Serious medical issues and good medical staff have a way of teaching one a lot of stuff. I know way more about pre-postnatal heart transition than most general practitioners. So one, sorry for the circumstances implied by that story, but two, that's actually really cool. Like I said, this is a stream for smart people. The Grail has touched me with her wonderful fingers. It is almost time to perform the work and begin the changes, but I must have enough Grail aspect. So here, I think I'm going to see if I can push my luck at Glover and Glover. Although it does mean that I'm going to run the risk of losing my lessons learned. Okay. So as long as painting takes less than 60 seconds, I should be okay. So I've got one passion to throw at it. I think all my mystique is gone. Normally, so in a perfect scenario, I would wait the 3 seconds to get the mystique from talking about cult things. But at this point, the real purpose is to get rid of the restlessness, not to make money. So I'll take my passion. I don't believe there's anything else on the table that I can throw in here yet, so we'll paint. There's the restlessness. And yeah, so sorry, I forgot it was both passion and mystique that I would have got, and it was all for a hanger-on. That's all right. That's life. At this point, I think it makes as much sense to just keep talking about esoteric matters. Let's go back to the auction house, although I'm going to be a little short on money. You know what, guys? I'm sorry. I think I completely forgot to tweet out the stream tonight. Let me just, oh my god, so I wrote an hour ago that I was finishing a job application. Sorry, 1 second. This is a lot less convenient on a mobile phone. There we go. I feel like a complete clown. All right. Thank you all for showing up. All right, let's get some serious gaming in. I've kind of been babbling a little bit. I'm feeling a little lightheaded, if I'm completely honest. I've not been feeling great the last couple of days, but we will prevail. So I don't want to wait, why don't I want to touch Dream right now? Partly because I don't have anything to work with Dream with, but that's not a good excuse. Still gonna leave it open, but hey, thanks, Ether Dragon. You know, I'm not of the view. I mean, let's face it. My Twitter reach is probably my least active method of communication with people. But that's not really the point. I appreciate it when people do those recommendations because, of course, someone saying, "Hey, I like this thing. Check it out." You know, even if it's a simple retweet or something like that. One, that makes me feel like I'm not wasting my time, so it helps me in a morale sense. And number two, it's a better recommendation than somebody just randomly clicking on Cultist Simulator streams to say, you know, who is this guy? Because, like, obviously new people coming to the stream are not necessarily going to know that I've been, you know, playing the game for hundreds of hours and that I, you know, did the Steam stream or something like that. And why should they care, right? They care about whether or not they, you know, they think it's worthwhile. But if I'm not, you know, if I'm not in one of my better moments, that may not, you know, that I may lose someone who would have otherwise enjoyed the stream. If someone you know makes that recommendation, then it's much more likely that they're going to stick around for a little bit to see what's going on. It doesn't always mean that it'll be something that you like, but obviously, you know, having that validation from, you know, another friend checking out what's going on is one of these things that, you know, gives me a better chance to try and appeal to someone. So, you know, I definitely do not judge people on the basis of their Twitter followers or Twitter activity. The fact that people are engaged with the content, the fact that people bother to share, really does mean a whole lot to me. So last time you used Twitter was 11 months ago to see some coffee system Chuck promise. Yeah, that's right, you got a Twitter account for this, didn't you? Olaf says, I found some cool streams from clicking on people's retweets. Speaking of, by the way, guys, because actually, Olaf, let's make Ariella feel really bad. Some Australian chick I know who's like, she's pretty okay, but she never comes around. Olaf, wait a minute, what am I doing? I'm sorry. Like I said, I'm not feeling 100%. Olaf. Okay, I gotta make sure that I got the name right now. Cool. Come watch my once a year stream. Anyways, Twitter's where you go to get mad. I don't need Twitter to get mad anymore, sadly. But anyways, Olaf is actually a really good ambassador for Miss Ariella. All my Australian friends or friends in that part of the world are great recommendations, because there's definitely more than a few times I hear, I like your stuff, but the hours don't really work for me. And usually it's people who are coming at the end wishing that it was going longer, rather than people coming in at the beginning saying, hey, I gotta go to bed, have a good stream. So in particular, I like sharing streams from that part of the world, because it definitely works a little bit better for those time periods. It's also a really nice chance for me to talk with someone who I had a chance to meet in Vancouver. Very steadfast Twitch friend. In fact, we were involved in a social circle where, because Twitch is basically a recreation of high school, it was one of these cases where I was deemed unworthy, and there's a whole lot of people who all of a sudden stopped talking to me really quick. That's gonna make it sound like something really terrible happened. It is very much a ratty little drama of like, oh, so and so's not talking to so and so. Someone's not talking to so and so. I didn't like them all along. It's not a like. It's not a like, somebody did something terrible to someone else. It's only 10:36 in the east coast of Australia right now. Perfect. Great time for everybody to be watching Twitch streams. But what I meant to say was, one of the things that I find worthwhile, because I mean the stakes of something like that are so small. If you get too invested in it, you're really not showing what your priorities are. Now I also know what I need to do with the wood. I need to be going through the mansis. But what I do think is really valuable out of times like those are to find out who sticks around. And Kite and Miss Ariella were two people who were like that. And that was really nice of them, because it was definitely a point where there was a big social cost to saying nice things about me, and it wasn't to their benefit in order to do that. So in addition to the fact that Miss Ariella is just a fancy lady who's fun to hang out with, she's also someone who someone who I like to speak to, to her character in addition to her streaming abilities. Now, Ether Dragon, what's your actually? So anybody here who, even if you haven't been participating in chat, if you have a stream, let us know. You can link it in chat. I won't demolish you unless you stream something, or unless you link something you're not supposed to. But it looks like there's a couple of streamers in here who I've been neglecting. She's a good person, but don't tell her. Yeah, don't tell her I said that too. Although you can point out that I am heartbroken that she's not been stopping by. Ah, that's right. You've come in the Sim Gamer account before, haven't you, Ether Dragon? I'm sorry, I forgot. The auctioneer makes a note of my name and signals one of the attendants. I have my prize. I hope it's worth it. I haven't been reading the book titles just because I always wind up reading them twice due to, you know, getting distracted on digressions and whatnot. There's really no point for me sitting on the vivid imagination. I should have got that done right away. So now we'll boost our creativity. Stream every year on your birthday and most Christmas days, but League of Legends normally. I still have not played League of Legends. Played a lot of Dota. No League of Legends yet. Okay. We're still sitting on 1 despair, huh? I guess that's because I painted away the restlessness. I might have to get up and get a glass of water, actually, because like I said, I'm really feeling very cloudy. So, the waters of the wood run cold and deep, but never clear. Rote memory alone will not take me there. I must engage my passion. All right, Herschelt's Nightmare. There's my second. Oh man, I really. So I bought Gartside Sanskrit Reader when I. I so clearly didn't need it. Okay, I'm gonna get up. I'm gonna get a glass of water, and I'm gonna start focusing a little bit more on the game because this is. I'm clearly getting to a very silly place right now. But I will be back. I won't even put up the alert box because it is quite literally just me getting up, stretching out a bit, having some water, and I'll be back for what's hopefully a little bit more of an engaging stream. Sorry, guys. Olaf already brought the hype train. Ether Dragon, thank you for the 42 bits. 42 bits left until Friday. Mad King says you'll stop derailing the chat by going and do your regular grocery shopping and inquiring about sporting goods store, where is the best archery club in town to pick up the hobby. Good luck. You are definitely not derailing the... Thank you for the bit, Erasmus. You're definitely not derailing the chat. I mean, obviously the ability to have some back and forth with people is what makes this interesting. At least interesting for me. It's nice to get to know you guys. It's nice to be able to, you know, bounce ideas off of each other, and sometimes it's just nice to babble stuff out into the void and know that someone's listening. It's therapy for me as much as you. But yeah, please don't ever feel like you're causing problems by being here, Mad King Brutos. I really do very much enjoy having you around. All right. So hopefully, I actually didn't get that much of a stretch in, so like the blood's not flowing. We need Eyes of Sin in chat for that. Hey, Pope Clifton. A bellowing and unorthodox Catholic with a mystic streak and an untrimmed beard. You might be able to recruit this acquaintance as a follower. But yeah, I will boost my capabilities slowly over time. All right, so we're gonna keep on the cult the cult recruitment circuit. I do feel a little bit bad that we wound up with Herschelt's Nightmare, and I should have anticipated that my passion would get soaked up by the by the talk, but you know, we're living with what we've got right now. I believe the evidence is gone, so if I can get the Season of Suspicion. Oh, excellent. We've also got a Season of Ardors coming up. Whenever you play the Priest DLC, Pope Clifton always comes front of mind. Neat. You know, the funny thing is that there seems to be a consensus that Priest wasn't as good. I don't know where that came from, because I actually really liked the Priest I really like the Priest DLC. Curl my hands into the correct shapes and begin. Alright, so clearly now I have the spare passion. I can get away with it. Alright, Stum, a can of nitrate film labeled Stum, silent or perhaps mute. The director's name, Yernek Krossa, is shakily appended. Feed my imagination fiercer, so we've got more passion. Again, something I needed just a touch earlier than I got. Study-wise, I can combine these yeah, you know what? I'm obviously getting a big stack of books and whatnot, but I don't think it hurts to make the most of the resources that I've gotten. So the Tigers of Wrath are wiser than the horses of instruction. If I spend time studying what I've learned, I could work towards increasing my passion. So I think this one will need 3, next one will need 4. I don't know, I feel like I can get away with using the collection of poetry. Tristan Interludes, if I have a particular friend, now is the time to renew our connection. So, obviously it would be nice if I had a lady friend, but the contentment from being single is definitely welcome. Really enjoyed how different it was. Only one, in your more opinion, that was more different than Priest was Exile. Yeah, I mean, Exile is kind of like Cultist Simulator 1.5, I think. You admit having a soft spot for Ghoul as a concept. Yeah, absolutely. Like, I think one of the reasons why I like Priest is that conceptually I like the idea too. But I think whenever it comes to matters of, so first of all, with matters of taste, you really can't kind of hammer down. So it's like, whenever I talk about game publishers, if people are just going to say, well, I just don't like them, what am I going to say to that, right? If on the other hand, it's like they are objectively the worst, it's like, okay, so now we're going to talk about numbers and now I'm going to show you how you're wrong. But I always think, especially for DLC, there's always that really heavy dimension of this is specifically a concept that speaks to me. So, the Aspirant definitely points to me. Like, I definitely, out of the 3 default starters, the Aspirant meant the most to me because, of course, I related the most to it with my school time. And clearly, looks like we are out. Something, deep mystery something. A dreadful souffle of half-digested rumor about the secret worlds and the irrelevance of contemporary morality, including a catalog of unlikely and probably invented debaucheries. If I've bought this from a shop, it probably means there's nothing left of interest in stock. So I don't need to buy anything. At this point, I'll probably just sell off the 2 here. I can use my exploration for more nefarious purposes, such as getting extra contentment. That means I really need to start reading my books. I also need to start, opening all of the locations. So, now that I got a couple of named people, I think it doesn't hurt to add them to the pile. Just trying to think of the way I want to break this down. I think I might actually try and naturally get another lesson learned. That way, so if I take 2, I get 3. No, actually it makes most sense. So after Feed My Imagination, I should read 2 of these collections of poetry in order to be able to upgrade my wild imagination. That'll leave me with 3, so I naturally get 1 lesson learnt for the passion. The remaining 3 go into my wild imagination. Too bad you can't read something. It should yield an injury for having smacked your forehead so many times. And there's mod support. Now that you mention it, that would be a pretty funny April Fool's one. Maybe so popular it becomes a part of the game. I think I'm gonna risk the wrath of the Suppression Bureau. So, entering the wood, while I was returning to the depths, one appeared in front of my eyes, whose mouth was sealed. When I saw them in the great emptiness, I cried out. I think that last night I met another soul in the wood. I never recall exactly what we said one to another, but I think that we will recognize each other in the waking world. So this is going to last for 57 seconds. The Suppression Bureau is going to stop searching for clues in about 56, so I should be able to take advantage of the exploration without paying the price. And given the fact that I've got spare passion, let's just keep going down the path. Alright, there are more windows in my soul, but sunlight is not the only thing that passes through a window. Use a lesson learned with your imagination skill. So, let me just double check here. If I bring this in, I'm going to need 3 lessons learned. So I eat 2 of them in order to get... Yes, okay. This is a good use of my research. Right, so... I'm going to ride this peculiar rumor as close as I can to the moment. Season of Despair is coming up next. I just wanted to double check that there wasn't like a Season of Suspicion or anything like that. So I don't think anything's going to happen within 4 seconds. We'll run that now. Okay, that's a minute, so I'll remember. We can learn from each other. Oh, but I forgot. I get the Mystique, so that's almost certainly going to generate... That's almost certainly going to generate a notoriety that the Suppression Bureau makes use of. I definitely hurt myself there. All right, Dr. Adim, I can get you... Well, yeah, I'll get a job from you. I don't think I'll be able to actually do it, but... and we'll take the occult scrap because it's... obviously, we need more locations in the capital, so... Which I should be using to explore again. Oh, wow, it's raining. It's perfect weather for Cultist Simulator now. Alright, I probably need to find a better spot for Adim. It's a substantial commission on Lantern, so this is not going to help me for a very long time. If I had better Lantern, I'd be going up through the wood. But we'll make do with what we've got right now. Now, as far as conversations are concerned, let's take a moment and get some recruitment in. So, Pope Clifton... As a reminder, he's a bellowing and unorthodox Catholic with a mystic streak and an untrimmed beard. That's my next lesson learned, so we'll read one more collection of poetry. By the way, this is gonna like get me drummed out of the cool kids club. I was asked today to name... I thought they said 2. But someone said, name your 3 favorite romantic poets. And I am ashamed to admit that I only named 2 because I completely drew a blank on romantic poets. So, if you had to answer that question, what would you answer? I can tell you which ones I gave, but I need to let my shame be known at a reasonable pace. Youth Explosion, I don't freaking know. Okay, good. You and I are in the same boat then. I mean, this is the thing, right? Like, just because you like poetry doesn't mean that you like romantics, but you'd be doomed. You have a little appreciation for poetry. It's, you know, it's not the sort of thing that I could speak at great length about. But I can't say I dislike it. I'm feeling a bit better about chat's overall feelings on poetry. Definitely not well versed enough in romantic poetry to name even one. Okay. So my guess here is that you probably know some romantic poets, and you just don't know them as romantic poets, because that was true for me. The worst thing is, does E. Cummings count? I don't think he's a romantic. What's really funny here is that I actually have just out of arm's reach, like one of my big stacks of books. And near the bottom of that stack is a Norton anthology. So if you've ever been in university and you've had to do an English class, chances are you needed to get one of these Norton anthology books. It's like it's the thing they make you read. And they're great because like I like the choices inside of them personally. There's like an English literature and then there's a world literature one. And I have a friend who I think actually, I'm pretty sure he did graduate study in English. Like he is very much of a literature. I guess it couldn't be English, but anyways, in literature of some kind. Literature of some kind. He's gonna kill me if he ever hears that. But he was really insistent that you should get the world literature one because you'll run into stories that you haven't seen before. And while I agree, and I think it's nice to have broad perspectives, there is also a whole heck of a lot of English literature that some of my favorite works are referencing, and I would like to enhance my understanding of some things that mean a lot to me. As much as I would like to find new things. But anyways, so there is actually a specific volume of the Romantics. So my two answers were John Keats and Samuel Taylor Coleridge. And then they're like, well, what's the third? And I'm like, I didn't know I had to have a third. I'm drawing a blank. And then they were like, okay, I don't believe you. You could, there's lots of very famous names you could put in there. You could put like Lord Byron, Percy Bysshe Shelley, okay. John Keats, I think, is a very, very good poet. I'm pretty sure most people don't know Lord Byron. Yeah, there you go. You've heard of Lord Byron. Samuel Taylor Coleridge did the Rime of the Ancient Mariner. Water, water everywhere, not a drop to drink, and the albatross, and the wedding guest, he beat his breast. Pretty sure most people will remember Rime of the Ancient Mariner when they're... yeah, there you go. It's obviously... if only I could paint. All right, well... I'm really gonna play with fire here and visit the Ecdysis Club. So, cabaret with an occult reputation. The entrance is lost beneath soft drapes of crimson cinnabar and intercardinine. Above the door, the club motto, Ingi rum imus nocte et consumi merigni. It has been rendered as, into the night circle we fly until the fire enjoys us. You like the Iron Maiden song better? In tonight's performance, Amethyst, a net-wielding hunter, pursues a veil-winged woman through a murmuring maze of leaf-clad dancers. Each movement is underwater slow. I'm a little worried this may not get me the contentment I need. Alright, I can't pick up the peculiar rumor because of the notoriety. I don't want to risk that, but let's go to the well and see what happens. Furtive truth, that's welcome. A detail smuggled in from an adjacent narrative. Don't speak where this may be overheard. The velvet is strong at the well in the wood, and the velvet is the hour that keeps secrets, but now and then she lets a little secret fall, like a crumb at a feast. Last night I found a moss-clad rock written all around with secrets of another history. I might give thanks to the velvet, but it will be wiser not to draw their attention. So I think it's probably worth, slamming through the woods as much as I can. Yeah, we got fascination for our trouble. But I did get contentment, so. And new season of suspicion is coming up. So the lights go down very gradually. As the performance ends, there is no applause. We each drift into the street, alone with our dream. So now seems like a good time for me to watch Stum, because I know that's going to get me some dread. And as long as I am not going to have another dread moment pop up, it seems like a good time to sort of kill two birds with one stone. So they will not forget the savor that I have given them. So this was, I think, a heart follower. Let's keep recruiting into the Order of the Bloody Cup, otherwise I'm going to have a huge backlog of recruitment, and nobody wants that. So a hanger-on, usefully malleable, but they'll probably never amount to much. And for exploration, what was I going to do again? I can talk about secrets. No, I wanted locations. There are places in the city where I can find extraordinary things if I can sift the clues out of history and rumor. Glimpses. Stoke the fires of my imagination. Did I get this wrong? No, sorry. Again, I'm not paying attention. Sooner murdered an infant in its cradle than nursed unacted desires. So I think I'm going to need lore for the next upgrade. I'm going to want to hold off on any of that. So Season of Sickness is coming up. Now would not be a bad time for me to try and earn a little vitality, seeing as I'm financially comfortable and I'm not really going to be using... I'm certain that my adversary has lodged a copy of their notes elsewhere, with their solicitor, with their superior, even with a contact in the press. This is troubling. So I've got some time for Glover, and Glover's going to want me. I know that I'm going to have to deal with sickness in a little bit, and while I do have a fair amount of cash, it seems just as sensible for me to use my arms of iron to secure my health and my fortune. So I think I'm still going to watch Stoom. It depends what happens in 30 seconds. I'll not forget the saver that I've given them. There is our new forge pawn. And finally, one more hanger-on. Let's bring our moth friend into the fold. Is that Abraham Lincoln? So yeah, exploration, I think we'll get our adventures in the capital. Obviously, that'll generate a bunch of notoriety, so I either need a more reliable way of getting rid of notoriety, or I need to take it slow. But of course, I'm gonna wind up leveling up a bunch of my followers anyway. I'm gonna jump between talk and recruitment, I think, while we get stronger. And it'll also be a chance for me to go through all of the books that I already own. So let's go to the Temple of the Wheel this time. Hey, another furtive truth, although the vitality would have been welcome too. Details smuggled in from an adjacent narrative. Don't speak where this may be overheard. In my sleep, I came to the high jagged rock, which is still called the Temple of the Wheel, though the hour called the Wheel is long extinct. Another hand had scratched a secret in the black lantern on its flank. I burned that secret into my memory to preserve for waking, before the Velvet came out of the Velvet wood depths and erased it. The Velvet is jealous of her secrets. So one of the things to keep in mind, because I mean, it's worth remembering that we started this playthrough at the base level just because there have obviously been a few cycles of me, you know, playing some new DLC and then new people finding the stream and wanting to go through all of this. One thing that I encourage, even if you're really familiar with the game, taking the time to actually read the text and just thinking about what's going on. So, you know, some of the really interesting stuff in this game is just sort of piecing together what's happened just in terms of, you know, these specific cards showed up, these words describe the action that was going on. And when you think of this one, right, this is really just simple, you know, you went into the dream and you saw a secret, and this is one of those dreams that you remembered when you woke up, and you have forbidden knowledge, and particularly it's forbidden knowledge that nobody else will see because the entity called the Velvet wrapped it over. So this is like, whether you want to say you got inspired in a dream, or whether this is you actually physically going into a location, you've mastered some kind of lucid dreaming or something like that. There's lots of different ways that you can interpret that. There's lots of different ways that you can make that mean something to you. But if you just reduce Cultist Simulator down to a game where you move cards on the table, it's perfectly enjoyable. And, I was going to say Lyra Zader. Lyra Zader also did good work on this, but, Martin Erikar, the UI designer, is no slouch at his, at his job. It is certainly inoffensive to move your cards around on the table. But I would argue that probably the thing that motivates people to join Discords or, write positive reviews about the game is not the process of moving card one into slot one. It's the idea of sort of what's happening in the background. It's the idea of, who this person is, who you're playing. So, you can do... I actually noticed I've occasionally walked around Twitch and just checking in on Cultist Simulator streams. Partly I just kind of want to see what other people do with it. And it's fun because a lot of people have not beaten the game yet, and so it's interesting to see them struggle with stuff that I kind of take for granted. And oddly enough, I've never felt motivated to tell them how to play. But unless they ask, like, I'm obviously willing to help out if someone says, what do you know about the game? It's like, a thing or two. But I noticed nobody changes the names. That's such a shame. Because to me, like, I had someone say that it was interesting to watch me play because they focus so much on the story, and it's interesting to see someone who just focuses on the analysis. But the thing is that I tend to enjoy a lot of stories analytically. So it's kind of interesting to hear someone make that comment. And it was interesting. But one of the things that keeps the game interesting for me, even if I'm doing the Aspirant again, is just to have subtle little personality shifts. So you'll notice some people I'm much more willing to use violence than others. There are some people where I might consider pursuing romance options, where others, I wouldn't dream of it. And that's not like just coincidence, or that's not me not knowing something. Some people, I say, they're a little more comfortable with the idea of going to the Ecdysis Club, where the other ones are maybe a little bit more reserved. And these are just little details I like to tell myself to amuse me, because not every session of Cultist Simulator is necessarily going to be me playing myself. Sometimes it's just going to be communicating personality through the card choices or the ambitions that I have. And whether or not anybody knows them, it's a little bit like playing, Mass Effect and having an idea about what kind of shepherd you want to play. Oh, thanks, Ether Dragon. There's a couple moments where I felt a little bad because I clearly got lost on some stuff that I think was fairly straightforward to most other people. And so I always feel self-conscious in moments like that, just because, it's... I like to try, if I can, I like to try and put on a good show. But to me, that's a really important part because it lets me understand the game a little bit better, and it keeps me honest. I can't claim to say... again, I don't say every thought that comes into my head on stream. There are places in the city where I find extraordinary things if I can sift through the clues out of history and rumor. It's not like I say every single thought that comes into my head during a playthrough. But there is something to be said, I think, for the fact that, if I say, I think X is going to happen and Y happens instead, I can't do the old streamer trick of like, oh, I meant to do that. I knew that was going to happen. You can't pretend that you're better at something than you really are. And more importantly, at least for my purposes, as someone who has to work with the world as it is, and the fact that sometimes the data I work with is very imperfect, I overall think, I just wanted to double check that there wasn't anything nasty waiting for me, so we will buy a projector and we will watch Stum. There's something nice about having ideas about things and then finding out that you're wrong. Sometimes finding out that you're wrong is more exciting because it just opens up more possibilities. And clearly the Outer Wilds is so good at promoting a sense of wonder and this idea of exploration. It's why if I seemed like I was a lot more impatient with the quote-unquote hints and stuff like that, it's because sometimes you just want to enjoy something rather than someone like hunching over your shoulders like, did you get it yet? Did you get it yet? Did you notice it yet? Did you notice it yet? But that was a really special game, and I'm really glad that I got a chance to sort of play it that way, to talk about what I was thinking at those moments, and how the game seemed to nudge me either towards or away certain approaches. Yeah, well, also, playing it with big gaps in between, I definitely sort of felt this. Okay, so playing with the big gaps is not as bad as what people had said that it would be, but I did notice the seams in a couple of places where I think I would have been a little more quicker to pick up on stuff had I been playing it in one session. But the film rattles through the projector. It glows silently on the wall. It is a story of a foolish student of forbidden sciences who recruits a dancer to entice the dead back into the world through a flaw in its skin. It's a fiction, but here on a title card is laid out the operation of the declining sun. They will not forget the savor that I have given them. So that is, again, another pawn. This one definitely is not going to amount to much. But we are open for more recruitment. So let's speak of esoteric matters and see what comes out. We're short on. Sorry, I almost lost my Glover and Glover job. So yeah, in 44 seconds, right. So I need to make sure that in 40, this is actually going to be a little tougher than I thought it would be. Because I've got 44 seconds before... So I'm going to need to decide between using my vitality to heal my sickness, or axing the fascination with dread. The fascination will probably go by on its own, but the whole reason I watched Stum now was so that I could, nullify the dread. I walked in the wood last night. The scissors worked in the distance, and furred things crammed my mouth and swarmed my ears, and I felt the old urge to drop to wolf roars and nose among the roots. But I remember that I walk upright by day, and I know fire and steel and words. And at last I found where the velvet had concealed a secret on tree bark beneath moss. I read it then with the tips of my fingers, and I think now that I could write it in full. So, let's think about the next few moves. 5 seconds. I think I'm going to get rid of the fascination first. Congregation of Saint Felix of Shurin. The rite is depicted in chilling detail. Here is a flaw in the world, an influence shimmering in luminous paint. Here is the dancer establishing an irresistible rhythm. Here the scholar recites the operation, and now the misty dead whirls through the flaw to consume him. The film closes on the dancer's watchful eyes. Had she intended it all from the start? So this is a very welcome development. So we've got the operation of the declining sun. So this is a perfect example of a case of where I don't necessarily say everything. Sunset Rite has its uses for sure. For this, it is the assistant must cry tears of genuine emotion, which are asperged in the place where the influence lies. If all is done well, the sun and rags will consume the influence, acknowledge an ending, and lend its assistance. But the much more important factor is the operation of the declining sun, because that is a reasonably powerful, winter winter lore, which I believe I can make some progress with. So first of all, said I was going to get rid of the fascination first, so here we go. Now, as far as studying is concerned, I could try and get swole. Yeah, let's see if we can do something better. Let's go Introduction to the Histories, because I might actually be overweight on occult scraps anyway. So, the 17th century mystic and antiquarian Claude Hirschelt describes divergent incidents in 5 major histories. The prologue warns at length of the iniquities of one Julian Cosley, a former colleague who Hirschelt now describes darkly as a worm of worms. It seems Cosley advised Hirschelt early in the writing of the book, but Hirschelt later became suspicious. Rasmus says, like, does the Horned Axe Guard does the Horned Axe Guard reality in some fundamental sense, so it can't be killed without everything falling apart, but in some other pre-human hours were pretty clearly replaced, not just killed. The moth eats up the wheel from the inside. Oh my god, spoilers. Here's a question. Is the lore so the game of Cultist Simulator can definitely... Sorry, I'm also kind of taking your questions and running in a completely different direction, Erasmus, for which I apologize, but here's an interesting question for you. Can the lore of Cultist Simulator be spoiled? The game clearly can, because if you don't get to solve the puzzles yourself, you miss out really on the whole reason of playing the game. But is there such a thing as Cultist Simulator lore spoilers? It's too confusing to to count as a spoiler. So let's see whether or not the decision was the right one. Season of Ambition, so we know we're going to get some extra dread, but there was no evidence that I had to get rid of that. No evidence that I had to get rid of the fascination or dread right away. So 30 seconds, we're going to have another location. Definitely we'll use another occult scrap until we get to the end of our expeditions. But my big problem right now is that I really don't have that good of a group to advance with. And for that, I'm going to need some more Grail. Forgotten Mithraeum. Curiosity seekers have picked out this ancient temple, but there may be a hidden door here somewhere. So another great example. So, one thing you can do. One thing you can do in this is, obviously. So I guess here's the example that I would give. If you tend to find the habit, and again, it's not my job to tell people how to play games in ways that you enjoy them. But if you haven't had a chance to play this game without kind of going to the wikis each time you get stuck, here's a really great example about where you probably are a little bit better at picking up hints than you think you are. And games have just kind of taught you, and Google has just kind of taught you that you don't think about problems anymore. There's always someone else who's figured it out for you. So curiosity seekers have picked over this ancient temple, but there may be a hidden door here somewhere. I actually don't remember exactly what the obstacles are here, but let's give an example. So curiosity seekers have picked over this ancient temple. Not necessarily any information that we get out of that on a first reading. Curiosity seekers, maybe it'll be someone that we encounter. Maybe we need to convince them. Maybe we need to fight them. But the second part, but there may be a hidden door here somewhere. Well, think for a minute. It's like, okay, so if you didn't have any other information, what aspects would you bring in the case of a hidden door? And maybe you haven't done an expedition yet. At that point, you're probably going to really have a hard time with this because it's not necessarily obvious. Maybe the next thing you can say is, well, I have some ideas, but let's take a look. I know my followers are going to have certain aspects, and I don't have a follower for each aspect, so let's kind of take a look at what we've got here. So, lantern. Life is a pure flame, and we live by an invisible sun within us. Thomas Brown. Lantern is the principle of the secret place, sometimes called the house of the sun and the light above it. Edge. All conquest occurs at the edge. One who dwells there is blind and cannot be wounded. Another is strong and grows stronger. Edge is the principle of battle and a struggle. Forge. Fire, I once read, is the winter that warms and the spring that consumes. The principle of forge transforms and destroys. Barber's warning. I knew a man who captured moths in a bell jar. On nights like this, he would release them one by one in the candle. Moth is a wild and perilous principle of chaos and yearning. The Sexton's secret. Winter. Winter is the principle of silence, of endings, and of those things that are not quite dead. Knock. The knock permits no seal and no isolation. It thrusts us gleefully out of the safety of ignorance. The knock is the principle that opens doors and unseams barriers. Heart. The heart relentless beats to protect the skin of the world we understand. The heart is the principle that continues and preserves. And then finally, we've got Grail. Hunger, lust, the drowning waters. The principle of the Grail honors both the birth and the feast. So none of these are this is how you get past hidden doors side. But if you were to make a best guess, and you could only pick one, which would you go for? I don't know about you, but knock, the one with the key, that seems to kind of make sense. The other idea, searching for a hidden door, well, maybe lantern. A couple of others you might want to consider, like, forge. Well, maybe we pick the lock, or maybe we destroy the door, or something like that. There's its own logic. You may not think about the game the same way that I do, but it can definitely feel like when you play Cultist Simulator that it just like throws stuff at you seemingly without any kind of reason. But there's a lot that gets hidden inside of this text. And, there's other ways of finding out what your obstacles are going to be. But even if you just read the text for this, you get a little bit of a better idea in terms of what's kind of going on in that location. And you can sort of prepare accordingly. And what that does is that gets you in the habit of, not letting someone else play the game for you. And instead, it's an opportunity for you to learn a little bit more about it and then feel that sense of satisfaction that comes from being able to understand something better than you did coming in. That's one of the main reasons why I still play this game. All right, so Hirschalt's Introduction to the Histories. Hirschalt identifies blood, silver, design, and the worms as the central axes of each of the histories, and claims that the so-called second history is the true one. So we'll use that knowledge right away. We've gotten rid of our dread and fascination, so now is the time for me to spend this vitality. I'm already at work, so now I just need to read a book and decide what the next step is. I could definitely use more Grail, but I want to work down my my existing stack of already translated books. We can do The Rivers and the Queens. A surreal contemporary play by the enigmatic Monica Medina, in which the queens of the rivers are murdered one by one. The Queen of the Vistula is poisoned. The Queen of the Dnieper chokes on a fishhook. The Queen of the Tagus is burnt alive. Alright, so Moth is a little bit of a dilemma. So Mystique's not a problem, but Old Unhappy Far Off Things is going to result in me potentially getting some dread. We do have some glimmering, though, so it may turn out that this is the time for me to consider... Well, then again, I need to make sure that I have enough lore to be able to boost my my skill. Let's bring the hanger on in. And I think what I'll do... I think I'm only ever going to be able to deal with one of this restlessness, and looks like the Season of Despair is coming right after. Okay, I know what I'm going to do. I'm safe for now. My adversary has not enough evidence to bring a case against me, and I found no new clues. Grail has touched me with her wonderful fingers. It is almost time to perform the work and begin the changes. I must have enough Grail aspect exploration, might find more. So I have a couple of ideas. Aha. I could have been a lot more clever. But I have some ideas nonetheless. I will explain what I mean in just a moment. So first thing we want to do is get rid of restlessness. I'm in a position right now where, I've got my senior position at Glover and Glover. I've got 59 seconds. I have some skill with the arts. So I'm going to take my restlessness as inspiration. Of course, in 0.6 seconds, I'm going to have another restlessness come up. And that's going to have, I think, like 30 seconds before it causes me some problems. Sorry, a minute. Okay. We should be good then. They will never forget the savor that I have given them. So, first things first, let's talk about the Red Secret quickly. That's going to take a minute, so never mind. I am in trouble. So what I was going to try and do was use the restlessness for my recruitment. Which kind of makes sense when you think of it. You're getting closer to your ambition, and as a result, the restlessness you feel from not pursuing it dissipates. Unfortunately, I didn't quite plan things out properly, so I've got all of the capital locations. The culprit, it transpires, is the audience. The surviving queens are directed to execute whatever audience members do not escape. A surprisingly lucid epilogue suggests that the correspondence of river names with historical events does provide clues to secret histories behind our own. So we're overweight on occult scraps, but that's not the end of the world. Sick room grows close and stale, time to get up. So, quite a few things that we can do right now. Number one, I want to try and advance my knowledge however much I can. So let's say traveling at night might provoke, well, you know what? In for a penny, in for a pound. The wood lies outside the walls of the Mansis. As any students of the Histories knows, the Mansis has no walls. So, read Traveling at Night. We will now explore with furtive truths to find new locations. Remarkable Frisbee. Thank you very much for the follow. I suspect you're here for Cultist Simulator. I hope you're enjoying it. If you like participating in chat, please don't feel any need to do so. But are you a fan of Cultist Simulator, or thinking about getting Cultist Simulator? Or otherwise, what is your engagement with this game? Maybe you don't like the game at all and you just like the sound of my voice. In that case, still welcome. Just slightly different way of greeting you, I suppose. Odd nooks remain in the quiet countryside here and there for those who know where to look. So clearly I'm going to be dealing with these locations before I try anything else. Right, sorry. I also wanted to do something with the wood. So if I have enough passion, I can walk the dream road to the wood. If I have the right knowledge, I might be able to find a way beyond it. So of course our usual answer is just to use our passion, but in this case I think we can use winter to get to the White Door. So there's a house in the wood and a door where the dead sometimes go. I have read the paths the dead take. I don't normally use winter for this one, so that's what I was trying to say earlier about Stum, is that this has the nice side effect of producing, excuse me, of producing a doorway, which I've had a little bit of difficulty getting. Now, the real shame here is that the dread is activated, so in 26 seconds, I have to somehow get rid of this restlessness on time. I do, however, have to go to Glover and Glover. I don't have enough time to be able to paint again. So what I would have done, as I mentioned before, if I had someone available for recruitment, I would have used that to get rid of the restlessness. Unfortunately, I don't have that. And so what I need to consider now is just what are the different ways that I'm going to overcome the present challenge. I might get lucky, maybe get some contentment out of the conviction. Finished. Exceptional work. This is something special. This may provoke a reaction. All right. My recent work is considered significant. I may yet earn a living from this, but nothing is certain. So we've certainly exhausted a lot of passion doing it. We've got some mystique. We do have contentment, so I've got a minute of that. 38 seconds left on that timer. 2 contentment. Well, aren't I special? And we get our money back for making the painting, so that's... I guess that's a thing. But yeah, okay, I'm feeling a little bit better about that, but like I said, I was originally worried about the restlessness. It's not perfect because, of course, the timer is going to tick over. I need to make sure that I have the contentment available at the time I need it, but we should be safe. So let's take our reason and employ it at Glover and Glover. It's a shame that Mr. Alden isn't around. Who would have thought it? Who would have thought a Cultist Simulator player would say that? It's a shame Alden isn't around just to give me a real perspective on my work situation. But Remarkable Frisbee says, I have Cultist Simulator, but you've never beaten it. The mid-endgame grind is really, I think, really tough. I usually grind to a halt with dread, money, notoriety. Watched your VODs on YouTube and then found you on the Cultist Sim page rather serendipitously. Well, thank you very much for stopping by. Yeah, I mean, so I need to acknowledge the fact that there have been multiple people who have helped out in terms of preparing playlists on YouTube, and it just so happens that at that time a bunch of stuff has come up for me, and I've not been able to put the right amount of attention on YouTube. So I will follow through on that. I 100% do not want to take that very nice thing that people did for me for granted, but life gets in the way. It's really cool that people find the VODs, because of course I always feel a little self-conscious about them, given the fact that these are live broadcasts where, clearly I don't mind talking about, going on digressions, talking about things that interest me. But your experience of the mid-game is definitely par for the course. I'm very happy to give you some pointers if you're interested in progressing, although you certainly probably by this point know my feeling that the game is sort of best experienced. Although if it's the difference between you enjoying the game or not, I don't mind pointing things in the right direction. But I don't know if you've tried the Exile yet. The Exile is really, I feel like that to a certain extent is the oh yeah answer to everyone who talks about the grind. The one thing I'll say for Exile is that it'll fail you pretty quick, and you can get onto your next playthrough if things don't turn your way. But I've noticed that that's brought up another complaint, which is it's too challenging and people are not enjoying it for the other reason. But yeah, thanks for stopping by. All right, Elopoli describes how he came... Sorry, I don't think I read the text here. Oh, yes, I did. Elopoli describes how he came to make repeated visits to a dream wood via what he calls the Silver Dreams. Trying to think your way to the wood, he explains, is like thinking your way to being in love, but I find a secret that helped. And of course, if you have not found the wood yet, this is kind of the book that tells you how to get there. I don't recall if there's a book that explicitly mentions the lantern, but you can use the barber's warning. You don't have the deal... Oh, Ether Dragon says, the mods are great sometimes because if we want to skip over the digressions and focus on game content, YouTube makes that easy to do. That's kind of my feeling on it, but suffice to say, people don't get to see every comment that appears on YouTube, and some people have strong feelings about how much work they need to be put through on a video. But I mean, it's not a big YouTube channel. I think if I presented it as being something other than what it was, I could understand some annoyance. I don't want to take that audience for granted, but I also need to acknowledge that I'm already really stretched thin in terms of generating stuff. So I do have some ideas for VOD specific stuff, but for the time being, it is what it is. So Remarkable Frisbee says, you don't have any DLC. Which ones are the most worth buying in your opinion? So this, I think, and chat, by the way, feel free to jump in if you want. I'm going to take a second here and bring up the store page because I suspect there's also a bit of there's some money matters that I can figure out too. Okay, love the music, but so Anthology Edition gives you a 15% discount on everything, and that also includes the soundtrack. So depending on how much you like the soundtrack, you may or may not consider it worth picking up. So I just want to one thing I want to do right now is just figure out 315 minus. So the DLC without the soundtrack is $21.66. That's Canadian, and obviously without it being on sale. And then if you... Good Lord, game. And then, sorry, I just need to take a minute here. Okay, so if you buy the Anthology Edition, it's about $28.18 Canadian. That gets you the soundtrack. If you buy the DLC on its own, without the soundtrack, it's $21.66. So technically, if you are like, there's nothing but DLC, buying it individually is probably the most cost effective. On the other hand, Mickey Mara Productions, I'm sure, can use the money, so I'm not gonna to discourage you from that. I enjoy having the music on. But you wanted to know recommendations for DLC. So Ether Dragon says the difference in difficulty between Exile and the rest of Cultist Simulator is this to you though. In Exile, you can die later because of something you did or didn't do an hour ago, whereas in Vanilla CS teaches you one right away when things have gone wrong. That's really interesting that I might have a slightly different take on that than Ether Dragon, but I'll read Erasmus. Erasmus says, Exile is much more pure roguelike in that it's shorter, faster paced, and when you inevitably die, you can jump right back without as much tedious grind as the base game. That I agree with completely. So Exile is probably Cultist Simulator 1.5. But the funny thing is that to a certain extent, one of the real advantages of Exile is that now that you have kind of gotten familiar with the game, maybe overly familiar, and you're starting to feel like you're just doing the same thing over and over again, perhaps that's the time when you go and play the Exile. So what I'll do here, I personally really liked the story of the priest, and I think this is one of the big things about the 3D. So there's two sets of DLC. There's the Dancer, the Priest, the Ghoul. Those are all $3.39, ridiculously underpriced in my opinion. And then there's the Exile, which is $11.49, and the $11.49 reflects just how huge of a transformation that DLC is. Now, the Dancer is going to give you some extra endings, but also particularly it's going to give you different paths that you can kind of go down for those different endings. And that one is going to be pretty heavy about using your body in the sense of, you got to keep your health up in order to make your money. The Priest is, I mean, a lot of people, it's body horror is the genre that they would give to it. I really like The Priest because it goes to some very interesting places with the religious imagery. The ending is pretty intense in terms of just what's being described, and I think it has a really interesting little puzzle at the end, which is not obvious, but kind of fun when you look at it. It's really one of the ones that leans into the idea that there aren't necessarily bad things that happen to you. Like in certain circumstances, every card in the game can be beneficial. Even dread has its uses. So if you like a little galaxy brain thinking, that's probably unfair to the DLC, but if you like sort of being stretched and really kind of overcoming problems through some non-obvious thinking, I really feel like the Priest has quite a bit to offer. And then finally the Ghoul. The Ghoul also goes to some really interesting places, and the Ghoul, I would say, is very focused on painting. And so I would say the Dancer probably would be the most familiar. It still has its differences, but it's probably the most familiar in terms of Cultist Simulator, the base game. I'd say, actually, you know what? Probably in the order in which they're I think it would probably be fair to say this. Like the Dancer, the Priest, the Ghoul, and they're sort of in increasing differences that they're adding. And then, of course, the Exile. It's almost like there's no common cards between the two DLC. So I realize that doesn't really answer your question in the way that you asked. I don't have a direct must-have recommendation. It may even be the case that you want to click on one of the DLC. I don't know if you'd want to look at the reviews, because I think I feel like Priest had a few people who were like, this sucks. Yeah, mostly negative. Whoa, really? Mostly negative? Overall reviews mixed. Compare that to the Dancer, which has overall reviews positive. So I don't know if the reviews are really going to help you that much on them, but I would say click on the DLC, take a look at the concepts that they're talking about, like what the DLC is about as far as a subject, and I would say go with the thing that sounds the most interesting for you. And the only exception to that, I would say, is that if the grind is really getting to you, Exile is probably best. And the only slight difference I have with what Ether Dragon said was that my general feeling on it was that it fails you fast enough that you don't feel too hard done by when it does happen. But it may be that Ether Dragon's played a little more deeply than I have, and there are some cases where you find out that you're in a hopeless situation too late. But for me, I thought one of the virtues of the Exile was that you can definitely reach escape velocity. Like you're not gonna be constantly failing. But I did like the fact that the thing about the base game of Cultist Simulator is that you can put 20 hours into a run and then you discover something new that can kill you, or something to that effect. Or it just so happens that you get maybe an unlucky run in terms of some of the dread and whatnot. And you really feel like you've lost a whole lot when that happens. And I generally feel that less about Exile. So, but again, that's my. I don't mean to make a definitive statement on that one. There's a house in the wood and the door where the dead sometimes go. I've read the paths that the dead take. These are the bounds around the house, with their mists and their traces. This is the rock called the Temple of the Wheel, high as a church spire, patched with black lichen and daubed with eye signs. I round it, and there ahead of me is the white door, aglow like moon in winter. So let's go through our new door. In my dreams, I know the path to the white door through the bounds, but that path is thronged with the dead who pass that way. I will need health to resist their chill. So we'll do the ascent. Now I can approach the white door through the bounds. Now I can press my fingers to it, feel its chill, watch it swing open. As it opens, my mouth closes, tightens, heals over like a lost deformity. Around me is the cobalt light of the Mansis. Oh, and I'm not studying. So let's read Apollo and Marsyas, the libretto of a lost opera concerning the contest between Apollo and Marsyas and its tragic outcome. The librettist is identified only by their initials, RKNJL. In the original myth, Marsyas lost a musical contest and was flayed by Apollo, who later regretted it. In this version, Marsyas' skin has a further history. And then for exploration, let's say we'll continue with our furtive truths, but I think I am going to keep one around just in case, for whatever reason, I feel like I want secret histories. Maybe we'll do some translations, or maybe I'll try and get some more vitality because I am going to be hitting the white door a lot. Okay. Still has a pretty healthy timer on that evidence, so unless I want to try and bring some moth people in, I gotta be a little more careful about how I behave. Hello, Rhaenyra. Rhaenyra has been found not guilty in three times in 3 separate jurisdictions. She will likely never be found guilty of anything. You may be able to recruit this acquaintance as a follower. So, obviously, one thing that I learned, or relearned rather, was the benefit in keeping a recruit kind of kicking around. I don't know how Glover and Glover got there, but let's get back to making money. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to keep Rhaenyra around for a little while, just while I get a second recruit, and that will hopefully give me some more options if something nasty comes up. Like I said, I don't really feel like doing these events until I have a slightly stronger party, so being able to, well, that and I've got tentative evidence, so that and being able to, build people up, get a look at everything, I kind of feel like is a worthwhile use of time. Now, it'd be nice to check out, the Orchard of Lights, the Lodge of the Sage Knight. Definitely there are some risks sometimes by checking out the locations. But in this case, I do actually still have a benefit from furtive truths. So as long as I have new places to explore, I think it makes a lot of sense for me to keep bringing these in. So a detail smuggled in from an adjacent narrative, don't speak, where you may be overheard. Exploring with this with scrap of knowledge may uncover secret locations of the shrines. Many of the dead enter the mansis through the White Door. They wander its corridors in silence until they are lost. Some embrace each other, some devour each other, some force their way into the dreams of the living. A few record their memories on mansis stone where it is soft. They scratch it with their nails, you see. Last night, I read one of those memories. Oh, yeah, I can't explore. And I feel safe enough to go right back. You're also curious about your favorite of the unique characters, either as a romance option or as a general aesthetic. I think probably I'm leaning a little bit more towards just aesthetics here. I do rather like Pope Clifton, just in terms of the descriptions. And out of curiosity, Remarkable Frisbee, do you play Stellaris at all, or are you familiar with the game? So now Clifton improvises new prayers rich with solar metaphors. He still shouts like a soldier and drinks like a sailor. I know, there's just something really... So, I mean, first of all, I am huge on Lantern. So that's a big one. And then, Pope Clifton is just a really compelling figure. There was, I think it was Cat Caro. No, not Cat Caro. Why can I not? Clovette. I do actually really find her. Her enthusiasm quite infectious. But with that in mind, I actually rather like Enid as well. Neville's obviously also a very a much beloved character in the Cultist Simulator group. But I think if you were to pin me down, probably Pope Clifton. But Clovette and Enid are definitely close in the group. Heard of Stellaris, but never played it. Okay. Apologies to those of you who've already seen this. I'm not going to change the game title because this will be really quick. But I do want to show... See, the thing is, the Stellaris crowd has seen this a couple of times. But I don't believe I've ever shown this to the... I don't believe I've ever shown this to the Cultist Simulator group. And given the fact that we did a couple of digressions, I feel like this will be worth it now that I've put it on my solid state drive. So Stellaris is very tangentially related to this game in the sense that the designer of this one did a very good expansion story called The Horizon Signal, which that may have actually been the thing that sort of tipped me off as to the existence of Cultist Simulator. Anyways, so this is where you create your species and all of that. You can really make whatever you want, but let's I'm not going to focus too much on these details. No need to mess around with these. Sure. Prosperous unification sounds like a thing a cult might do. So in this game you get to pick kind of get to pick your ethics. And then you also get to pick what type of government you have. So you've got democratic, oligarchic, dictatorial, imperial, machine intelligence, or a corporation. Sorry, I don't know if I said hive mind as well. But anyways, so we're going to do for a megacorp. Now, megacorps are kind of interesting. So right now it says, mega corporation. It'll tell you different types of like species that you're running. So I think if you do something like fanatic materialist and I don't know, let's say authoritarian. Okay, that's still executive committee. Is there no way for me to... All right, well, I guess it's going to be an executive committee no matter what. I could go authoritarian. It's despotic hegemony. The game's going to give you some rough ideas in terms of what it thinks you're running. But here I'm going to do a mega corporation, and I'm going to do fanatic spiritualist, and I don't know, let's say they're xenophobic because, it's private. So one of the things that you can take is criminal heritage. So this is a criminal syndicate. But on top of that, let's take gospel of the masses. And now it's getting called a subversive cult. All right, that's a little bit more exciting, I think. So let's call this the... And we will set ourselves up with one of these. And finally, we will design a ruler. Oh, hang on. Sorry, I'm doing the wrong one. There you go. We just made the Mirror of Glory from Cultist Simulator in Stellaris. And obviously you can mess around with you can mess around with all the traits and whatnot. But I was as soon as I saw that you could generate a subversive cult inside of this game, I immediately knew that I had to put Clifton in my space game. Anyways, for those of you who don't care for Stellaris, my apologies for that, but that is something that I've done. I've shown the Stellaris crowd a couple of times, and I figured that some of you Cultist Sim folks might like it. All right, let's not get fascination. That's going to be coming up twice. The skin of Marsyas gives oracles and is later smuggled to Phrygia, where the priestesses of Sibyl use it for drumhead. At the opera's climax, the pounding of the drum drives would-be violators of the priestesses to suicidal madness. The opera ends with a wistful hymn from the youngest priestess on the beauty of mountain pines. So play like Space Civ. To a certain extent, if you've played any of the earlier Paradox games like Crusader Kings 2 or Europa Universalis, it's probably better to compare it to those grand strategy games more than Civilization, because there's a certain degree of complexity that's present in the Paradox games that maybe isn't as apparent in some of the Civilization games, which is not to say that Civilization isn't a complicated game. It's just that there are there's quite a bit of effort that's been made to abstract away a lot of systems, whereas Stellaris really revels in giving you lots of different little fiddly bits to mess around with, and it's a lot more about drawing your attention to where it needs to go. So with that in mind, I would say Stellaris is the most Civilization-like of the Paradox Grand Strategy games. I sort of feel like that's the one where you'd probably feel most comfortable. It's the most 4X-like, but it is a very different game, and it's one that's going to have a fairly steep learning curve, but one that I think is very much worth it. This is probably not a bad time for me to mention that I was given a copy of Stellaris for promotional purposes, and they have given me a copy of every DLC, except for Humanoids and Plantoids, which I bought on my own. And so obviously there is a small financial interest in the fact that they gave me something for playing that game. But that is me doing my due diligence as opposed to going through. Oddly enough, with Cultist Simulator, I don't need to do that because I backed it on Kickstarter, so I got all the DLC. Though obviously, I've been on their Steam page, and they've certainly offered me keys. It's just there's no point because I already own it. Yeah, it's good to get that sort of stuff out there. I personally don't see that as like a huge compromise in terms of my ability to share games with people. I wouldn't be playing it if I didn't like it, but it's kind of up to the viewer to decide what that means to them rather than me to assume for it. Lock the study door, the work begins. I should also mention, Remarkable Frisbee, I don't know if you have anything like the Xbox Game Pass or that, but I believe Stellaris might be on at least one of the subscription services, and it does tend to go on sale quite a bit, if not get a free weekend. So if it seems appealing enough to you, there will probably be some opportunities down the road for you to try and decide whether or not it really works. Ether Dragon, thank you very much for stopping by. I hope you got your money's worth. But I hope you have a good dinner. I'll probably be kicking around for another 40 minutes or so. I'll try and go as long as I can, but if you're detecting more digressions than usual, it is because I'm still feeling a bit wary, and it's nice to interact with you guys. I feel like probably the day at work took a little bit more out of me than I wanted to admit. But let's use our furtive truth again. Odd nooks remain in the quiet countryside here and there for those who know where to look. And what else do I want to do? So I need to worry about fascination. I could eventually sell these books, but I don't really need to do that right now. Looks like we found a new mentor. Oh, here's an interesting question. I don't think this will help. Oh no, okay, we've already got the ascent. Never mind then. Wait a minute, am I getting this? Oh, that's right. I forgot that this is what I need to do. Okay, I am going to go to the stag door. The ascent is slow, winds from nowhere pluck at me. My skin is stained with light, the wood shivers with motion far below. Alright, so more money. I'm not going to try and off the junior Glover or anything like that. I'm doing okay with money, and there's just simply other things that I can be doing. My work slot, with the exception of maybe the occasional painting that I want to do, isn't as important to me as when I'm really cranking out the research and whatnot. The stag door, a rigid barrier of blood-streaked horn, huge enough for a ship to pass. Yeah, huge enough for a ship to pass. It was broken long ago, and even now the scars are not quite healed. In a declivity beside the door rests a vast and wounded golden head. Its mouth would be large enough to swallow me, were its jaw not shattered. It is the name Girby. It begins to intone its riddle. So, what riddle did we get? What must open before the way opens? Answer a riddle to pass the stag door and be accounted a no. Well, we have the waking chant. Who could hear this and remain unmoved? Who, the sleeping, the dead, the earth, the sky? This is pretty much, unless the riddle suddenly becomes, what's a song I can tap my toes to? This invokes, acknowledges, and welcomes the passage to silence. And the ecdysist's riddle is what may be lost. Each ecdysist's parable is an attempt to answer the riddle. So we clearly don't have the answer to this riddle yet. And it's possible we may not get the answer until we pillage some homes. So I guess we're going back up. I have prepared the text for study, so do I want to read this now? Yeah, let's do it. So, The Orchid Transfigurations, Volume 1, A Feast, the first volume of a compilation of quasi-Rosicrucian allegories, supposedly by Robert Flood. This is a later English translation. The illustrations are certainly striking. They flush the skin and glow beneath the eyelids after the book is closed. Worst mistake you ever made was killing Glover 1 in your furthest playthrough. Why was that? Was it because of all the notoriety that you wound up getting and you lost your job, I guess? I've been able to game that out reasonably well, but I think that probably really messes with people when it first comes up. Okay, so I don't want to do any more investigations right now. I want to kind of keep the occult fragments that I've got. So I suppose the question now is there something that I want to try and pick up through exploration? I could obviously get my followers to try and find interesting new things. I could visit the Ecdysis Club for whatever reason. I could try and sell back some of the books. I mean, I don't really have anything that's going to be... Yeah, okay, this feels a little dumb, but I'm going to keep one copy of something... No, you know what, we'll sell it. This oddity is probably worth something. It's hard to be sure. Let's see if we get any money for the dreadful souffle. It's partly because I don't know if I've ever gotten paid for it. Well, at one point I've definitely gotten paid for it, but that may not necessarily have been a version of the game that is currently available. We can learn from each other. So more mystique, get my secret back, and we have found Count Jannings. What do you want? The Good Count's fraternity in Europe is seeking particular research. Dr. Ibn Aladim, called the Alapine, has an interest in overlooked history. He has offered you a commission. Count Gottlob Jannings, represents a continental confraternity of physicians and duelists. He has offered you a commission. See, in my opinion, people who are mortal should not be dueling. Alright, a substantial commission on heart. Well, we definitely know we can achieve that with the Waking Chant. Part of the question is whether or not I want the Spintrea and the, mystique and erudition and whatnot. But we'll worry about those details a little bit later. Right now, we'll just speak of esoteric matters. And it wouldn't actually be bad. I don't think it would be too bad for me to experiment and see whether or not I can maintain my job at Glover & Glover while still... doing meaningful occult work. So if I work with the right lore fragment, I can create a manuscript to fulfill this commission. I will need to talk to my patron about this commission when it is finished. So we use the Waking Chant, which means we're giving them a little bit extra, but that's life. Write a substantial treatise on heart lore, and 60 seconds, so we are going to have some trouble at work. Good to know. I don't know if that changed or if I just never noticed it before. So let's do the Orchard of Lights. Glimmering, my emotions run higher than usual. There will be things that I never understand, and those things will always be precious, but just now I am closer to them. Glimmering can be used with study to gain passion. It lasts only 3 minutes if unused. The sun and splendor, the hour who once ruled the Mansus, was known to walk in the orchard before his terrible division. Sometimes his remnants walk here still. Sometimes I see the chilly radiance of the Meniscate through the trees, or the chillier radiance of the sun in rags. Were they to come upon me, it might be my end, but to see them in the distance is the gift of insight. So I don't exactly need glimmering right now, but I suppose I can't complain. Let's just drill this out again. So no despair, please. Notoriety is in season, so we'll be careful for the next 2 or 3 minutes. We must devour to be devoured. We cannot be undevoured, as we cannot be unborn. So I suppose this is kind of nice that I've got my Grail. Okay, so let's just take a minute here. Something more. If I know the right lore, I can employ the invisible arts to reach an even higher summon. I must choose between unreason and folly. I wonder if it warns me. Yeah, I'm taking a big risk that I don't have enough lore. I don't know. Let's do something. Wait a minute. Do I have more than one? No, hang on. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. I wasn't sure if I had the two glimmering or not. So let's risk it. The auctioneer's gavel bangs. My item has sold 2 funds for a useless book. All right. Well, let's get rid of Gartside's reader as well then. You got fired for notoriety. Your only method of dealing with it was painting to hide it, but that would waste time and get you fired for inactivity. Yeah, it's there is kind of a way of gaming it out a little bit, but it's definitely one where I think you could make a reasonable argument, that the gains really are not worth it in the end. I think sometimes it's better to just let things, take their course. For some reason, I don't remember the senior position being so strict, although I will admit I think it's a better approach, because it really used to be that you could kind of do anything. So, heart a substantial investigation. Your own work in manuscript form. Talk to your patron to get paid for this. I would kind of be interested in giving myself a little bit of a challenge and saying, like, stop using Glover and Glover as a crutch. But I don't know if I'm quite at that. I don't know if I'm quite at that level yet. So, my superiors must believe my contrition. Use passion to convince management to return to work. This is not a pleasant conversation, but it may be a necessary one. So, I don't think I come back in the senior position or not. So, I'll be interested in seeing what that produces. Okay, so we've got the Orchard of Lights, Lodge of Sage Knight, or I can accept the Restlessness. Let's do the Lodge of the Sage Knight. Subtle Fracture, Drat. Not exactly what I wanted, but we might be able to get something out of it nonetheless. So clouds part, walls creak, old wounds ache, a 6th order influence, significant resonances or correspondences. This can be used in some rites to summon minions. Last night, in the great pavilion above the grey sprawl of the Bounds, a woman who once called herself Teresa Gallagher sat on gilt-fringed cushions and offered me a horn cup of dream wine. The wine is imaginary, she explained, but the cup is not. To navigate the Mansus, one must understand the distinction. Perhaps one day you'll join me on the pilgrimage, or I'll join you. So here, let us share a secret, and her breath tickled my ear. So I might be able to summon something to help me out with the expeditions with this. Obviously, I'll need the work slot open, so It's a bit of a remote chance, and I'm not feeling so attached to my body that I'm not going to go back up to the white door, through the white door, so. Clouds part, so there's some more fleeting reminiscence if I want to do something with that, I guess. Alright, there are more windows in my soul, but sunlight is not the only thing that passes through a window. Use lesson learnt to improve my imagination. Now we will do... Actually, let's just see. Before I waste too much, I do something more and I add lesson learnt. Yeah, it's going to want me to go the whole way, so let's hope for the best. Auctioneer's gavel bangs. My item has sold, so even more money for things that I don't really need. Let's sell that last copy, Kerner and Goethe, and see what comes out. I did paint everything run where you did it all for money. All you did for money was paint and played until you got every unique painting. Really changed your mind about how good painting was as opposed to Glover spam. Yeah, now out of curiosity, was that before the Ghoul was released? Because the Ghoul introduced some changes to how painting worked. All right, yeah, so it's not a senior position at Glover and Glover, but oddly enough, if I don't have the senior position, I don't need to worry about showing up as often. So I think I'm gonna take it easy for the next little while. And let's see if I can get away with something with the sunset right. I suppose the question is, what do I want to summon? And I guess my next answer to that is the best thing that I can. I don't think the edge is good enough for what I really want. Oh, that's right. I gotta remember. It's about who my cultists are, not always my lore. You can tell it's been a while since I've done done anything in this. So here's one thing I think definitely won't work. So a little knock and edge, yeah. So if I had a better edge follower, I actually think that would have worked, but I don't, so there's no point in pretending that I did. I don't think Saliba is going to be able to get me something there. Yeah, Great Power of Grail is a bit much. Oh, I haven't brought Violet in. All right. So this will have dread consequences, but it's not the worst idea I've ever had. These are the dead who do not descend or ascend, but who remain in the mansis and dream of winter. The power of winter, along with a little of heart's warmth, will draw them here. So there's one other thing I just want to experiment with. No, I should be bringing Slee in. Yeah, significant intensity. Seemed too good to be true. Like I said, it's been a while since I've had to do these regularly. So, yeah, let's try the Voiceless Dead, and I think I'm gonna risk a couple of expeditions to see where it all goes. I really don't like feeling this idle, and we're getting at the end of my auction adventures. More importantly, the tentative evidence is gone in a minute, so that might also be a small motivator. Come with me, and we've got Neville. Eyes of Sin would be so happy. Okay, so given the fact that I'm going to be moving people through some areas, let's fill out the ranks. So, Order of the Bloody Cup. Hello, Neville. This one is ready. Oh, the description of Neville. Neville pauses before he speaks and flinches easily. He laughs whenever he thinks you've made a joke. Oh, exploration. I forgot what I want to do with that now. Definitely don't want to go on the expedition yet. But I can send a pawn to see if we can get some hired help too. All right, we've got Restlessness, the Orchard of Lights, or the Lodge of the Sage Knight. Let's try the Sage Knight again. Erudition. I suppose it's better. I mean, the Lantern might have been nice. I might have been able to summon something out of that. I don't really have a lot of knocks, so that's maybe too optimistic. And I might actually wind up getting erudition from doing other things. So this is not a bad trade-off. In last night's stream, I was in the Lodge of the Sage Knight behind the white door. It is difficult to remember exactly how I came there, and the mistress of this place, the woman with the dark glasses, was nodding as if I had asked her a difficult question. Of course I hadn't. I had lost my speech when I passed the white door. How is it that I can speak? She said to me. I didn't come here through the white door. I'm not proud of what I did to come here, so let me tell you about something else. Oh, here's a question for you, Remarkable Frisbee. When you did your painting run, did you get the Secret Histories painting? Some of you might know what the Secret Histories painting is. Some people may not know. This may be an opportunity for me to blow your minds. We've also never really known what the different HQs do for you. Which one do you prefer? So that one's very much a circumstantial one. So the lore upgrade system was changed quite substantially. And so really the question is, what type of upgrade are you doing? And so my choice of HQ will usually be driven by some of the other gaps that I'm filling. So, you know, when I've boosted my strength, when I've boosted my imagination, Just 1 second, guys. I've got a small distraction I need to deal with, but I will do my best to... All right. I don't want to ruin the experience for everyone, so... I just gotta mess with my settings here. Where did my Cultist simulator window go? Tell you what. I'll leave you all to wonder what's going on in the background here. This won't go on for too much longer. I just have a couple things that I need to get done. Turns out the hireling was a shifty woman, by the way. I also had a secret lore that I sent out as a tweet at some point. Okay. Oh, I screwed up the aspect ratio. Behold, the Secret Histories painting. Teresa and Christopher. Love, like the Mantis, defies boundaries. Also, while you all drink that in all of its glory, we'll bring it along so we can see the others. We turn Neville into a believer, so Neville pauses before he speaks and flinches easily. He is sensitive to deeper matters. And I think that's all the news. Yeah, it was a shifty woman, which we didn't hire because I've already got... Oh, actually, I don't have a moth person. Maybe I should hire them. All right, anyways. I hope that was worth the digression. That's an old kind of joke, I guess, that a few people have seen. So who do I want to bring in next? Well, I guess we're talking with people to bring them into the cult so that we can use them on an expedition. And then we'll add more bodies if the opportunity comes up. But right now, working with what we've got is the higher priority. Okay, Grail has touched me with her wonderful fingers. It is almost time to perform the work and begin the changes, but I must have enough Grail aspect. Exploration might find more. So I'm a bit lucky here in that, yes, I have Restlessness in a minute, and yes, I'm going to need to use my position at Glover and Glover, but I don't need to worry about the fact I'll be able to use this as part of the initiation ritual. So, hey, no problem. Remarkable Frisbee, I'll try to still be around when the time comes. Summon one of the voiceless dead, a dark shape limbed with winter light. It does not speak, but its eyes are avid, looking. The dead always long for the world eventually. So sometimes the dead enter the mantis by the white door. At its threshold, they lay down their power of speech forever. Call them back to the world, and they will have no voice, but their sins of dust are yours to command. I don't think I've seen this symbol before. So Aspect Deceiver, if this breaks free, it may try to drive you or your followers to insanity. So you know what? I have seen this before. I just haven't summoned a voiceless dead since these were added. So if I need moth, if I need winter, I've got something I can throw at it. So we'll avoid the hireling for now. And I think we go on the first expedition we can. I think Strathcoins will benefit from having some moth people to confuse. The rest of it, not so sure, but we'll make it work. Oh, could probably go to work though. I did just beg for my job. They will not forget the savor I have given them. Now, I forgot to read the original description for Violet, but Violet likes to paint. She has a gift, although she's always been very modest about it. She never puts human figures in her paintings. There are enough people in the world. So, I think Rhaenyra is our last potential recruit, so we will make sure that we give her a restless initiation. This one is ready. Although, hang on, before I go too crazy, let's say we've got Saliba. So if I bring in the red secret, I don't think this will be enough, but... So we needed 7th intensity, so just shy of what we needed. If I had even a slightly better Grail lore, I would have been able to make that work. But we're a little early, so that's fine. We'll still be able to bring Rhaenyra into the fold. And this is, you know, I used to do this all the time, but I got to relearn all the old tricks. My own heart pumps more strongly today, so I might do some day labor just to get the extra vitality and to use the lessons learned. Better not. I must be careful of the company I keep. So no point in hiring anybody else right now. We've got places to burgle, and I think I will start with Strathcoin. So we'll take the Voiceless Dead as a starter, and let's bring Slee along. So, Strathcoin's residence. The house of Mr. Strathcoin, a collector of rare objects. Strathcoin will not sell his treasures, but a sufficiently cunning accomplice might gain entry. Mr. Strathcoin is forbidden entry to his library. Unfortunate. Let's see what we can do. Alright. I still have room for furtive truths, so we'll bring that in. Of course, it's going to take us a while to go through the expedition. Many of the dead enter the mansis through the white door. They wander its corridors in silence, and they are lost. Until they are lost, some embrace each other, some devour each other, some force their way into the dreams of the living. A few record their memories on mansis stone where it is soft. They scratch it with their nails, you see. Last night, I read one of those memories. And as is usual, we just go straight back into the mansis. There's lots of stuff that I can do there. So even though it does consume health, I still think it's the right choice. I want to try and use my resources to get them generating things for me as much as possible. Glimpses. So this better work. Dodge Viper GT, 7 months. You've crossed over the half-year point. Thank you very much for that resubscription. I probably shouldn't say all of this over the Ark of the Covenant, but I appreciate it tremendously. How are you doing? They will not forget the savor I have given them. Rhaenyra, a believer. Rhaenyra continues to pursue her appetites discreetly, though her ambitions have grown. So the thing to remember is the people I'm going to be bringing on these expeditions have like 2 strength, but it's also worth noting that I do have a summon, which will be able to at least account for a couple of the things that I encounter. So, well, how about you? I'll admit I've been feeling a little cloudy, and I think part of it is a particularly tough day at work, and also the fact that I think I'm getting sick again. Which is not great. I really should be taking better care of myself if this is happening this frequently, because it used to be I never got sick. But those, transitory worries aside, I think I definitely can't complain, and I feel like there are plenty of things to be very grateful about. Your sub being one of them, but also the fact that I got a chance to play this interesting game, see some new people, and have some interesting chats. I've actually really appreciated kind of what some of the stuff that's been talked about during the stream today. So not a bad day in the sum of things. Just one where I'm feeling a bit drained. Our expedition plans for the next challenge. It'll consume funds. I can add funds now, or I can send another follower. So we've got the Watchers, mortals, perhaps even ordinary mortals, but quite a number of them. They can be fought, seduced, or deceived. And I think deceiving them is probably the best way for me to make some progress. Now, there's no experience like in Exile, so there's no real benefit to me bringing people who are not going to be adding things to the expedition. Ink, paper, and the fizzing of electric lights. The office is dark when I leave. Outside on the pavement, I turn up my collar. So we get 2 funds. It's kind of hard for me to say that the senior position is really worth that much more to me right now. Definitely gives me a lot more options. Season of Suspicion is coming up, which makes me very worried. I think we may actually finish the expedition just in time for them to pick up the notoriety. But I suppose I can't... Oh, actually, no, hang on, because it'll be 58 seconds. So in 17 seconds, the Season of Suspicion comes up. So we might get lucky. Feel that you've been eating Domino's almost every day because it's half off all pizza all summer with code 700. It's been a while since I've had Domino's. I also didn't have dinner. I wonder if that applies for Canada. Oh, that's right. Yeah, we're in the same province. So, probably shouldn't be ordering a pizza, but it's not the worst thing I could do right now. We'll see. I'll let you know how that train of thought ended next stream. How about? All right. The work is more demanding now, but it's better paid. Is it more demanding though? I definitely seem to have a lot more leisure time than when I'm doing Alden's job. So, sorry, I'm just trying to think if there's anything I want to do in the work slot right now. Excuse me. Also, I need to turn in the commission for Jannings. That's why I'm getting confused about wanting to do work. So, there's nothing else for me to do at the moment. I could, of course, paint. Paint is reasonably powerful for me right now, but it would extend any sort of any attention-getting cards that I have. So let's say... Oh, no, hang on. I'm going to get swole. That's what I'm going to do. Awake, awake, they're upon us. That way, quickly. It's pretty loud for a voiceless dead. Sage Knight again. My emotions run higher than usual. There are things I'll never understand, and those things will always be precious, but just now I am closer to them. Glimmering may be used with study to gain passion. It lasts only 3 minutes if unused. So I recall my dream. This was the lodge of blue silk, flapping in the winds of the bounds at the Mansus edge, and here was its mistress, who welcomed me as she welcomes all travelers. Company is nice, she confided, but I still miss my Christopher. 10 years, and not enough. But we could not have been long together, not without touching each other. And you know what happens when a man long lies with a long woman. Or perhaps you don't. I hope you don't. I won't tell you just in case. I'll give you a tiny gift. Alright, there's my spare glimmering. Not that I really need it right now. And I think I'm good enough on... Yeah, this is an interesting question. Whether or not I want to just get more health right away. Or... yeah, I think I will. 30 seconds is not that long to wait. Now I just gotta think. So, they did good work here once. Certainly there were a few too many amputations, but then there are individuals one would prefer not to walk the streets. So nothing really indicated here. Cater and Hero, it's been abandoned since the explosion when both the owners died. The machine stands silent. The building is a collapsing shell. Mr. Cater is known to display peculiar trinkets in his office. Perhaps some yet remain. Congregation of St. Felix of Shurin, a nonconformist enclave of a heterodox sect and the Calvinist offshoot tucked away in an odd corner of the city. They belt out hymns with unsuitable gusto, in the throat-scraping language that is very much not quite like Latin. The Forgotten Mithraeum, this is the one that we definitely had an indication in terms of the hidden door. And finally, the Forsaken Reach, along the gray banks of the rotting river, the warehouses wait. Perhaps I have identified one where an unusual cargo was stored. And then I suppose I could say, well, Keglin's Scratch, here the Romans dug for silver until they reached the unsanctioned space where the names hid things not fit for sunlight. Many others have come since then, even as the tunnels crumble, some have never left. Gladwin Lake, beneath the stark slopes of the fells, the mist-wreathed surface of the lake waits. There is a twin altar here before the Romans came, and a legend of a serpent who was sent to defile that altar. And Crocus Hill, the ancient tribes reserved this resting place for one who, by the end, in service to a certain merciless hour, was more scar than man. They sealed the entrance with binding songs and mortared blood. So nothing that obviously says we'll need moth. So, but the time has come to do much more important study. What was it? So there's unreason and folly. I can never remember what folly is. That's unreason. They're both unreason. Oh, I didn't even think. I think I am going to do... I'm just trying to think. Like, so this is one of the things that I feel a bit bad about, because, like, I've got a bit of an idea of who this person is, and I'm actually not sure what the unreason and folly... Yeah, we'll do folly. Who desires but acts not breeds pestilence. I do feel like a little bit of a clown when I pause the stream for any extended period of time over something like, what is my motivation? What did I think I was going to accomplish? Well, one way or the other, let's have a chat with Jannings about... I have what was requested. Alright, the others speak little to me, but they now nod when I pass. Here is my pay. So the pay is always going to be the same for this case, but what it does give me is a... I get it done in a shorter period of time, so it frees up my ability to do other actions. I'm definitely not going to be able to get another one before Glover and Glover wants me back, though, so... Nap to recover from fatigue, I am refreshed. Now, I'd like to combine the two vitality before too much time passes, but for now, I feel like I'm in a safe place to go through the white door again. Nope, there's my mystique. I received the currency of the secret world, and my patron has let tantalizing information slip. So there's my bronze Bentrea. If I ever feel like I need forge for something, I can spend one. I can also use it for things like language tutoring and whatnot, but let's leave that for another occasion. We're obviously going to let Count Jannings do his cooldown. Poppy I'm going to reserve in case there's a real funds problem, but it seems like keeping my ambitions low at Glover and Glover will cover me for that. One thing I did want to check, so... Risk your health without use of prisoner. Yeah, so there is a use for... there's a use for glimmerings. Well, technically erudition in this case, but... let's keep talking about fragments. Although I could have timed that better because I've guaranteed that the weary detective is going to see notoriety now. Bewilderment is our opportunity. We will pass in silent secrecy. Alright, contentment if I need it. Treasures lie before us. And what's coming up next? So I'm going to get sick, not great, because I'd rather keep my money for other things. But that's life. Exercise the imagination folly, and now my soul lies ready. So we've got their secret, we've got an extra level of passion, and we've got skill and open soul. Behold, they stand at my door and knock. If I hear any voice, I will open the door, and they will come into me and sup with them, and they with me. Passion and skill can increase no further. So this is, I think, one of the first times that I've actually pushed myself to the max level of passion before erudition. I guess it's my lantern nature. I tend to do it the other way around, where I wind up with more more reason. Before I go too much further, though, let's exercise the body. We'll preserve this as a lesson learned, although I'm going to have to work pretty hard to get this vitality where I need it. I got a few tricks that I can do to maximize the vitality that I earn, but I might get lucky with the oh no, I'm pretty sure the wary detective's gonna bust me. Let's risk the Lodge of the Sage Knight again. Hey, Forgotten Chronicle. A story of a city without a gate, of a queen who was not born, of a war that was not fought. Exploring with this scrap of knowledge may uncover secret locations on the continent. Last night, I visited the Lodge of the Sage Knight. My hostess manifested as an elegant woman with fashionably short hair and dark glasses. No, she admits, I don't need them, any more than I need eyes. Allow me my sentimentalities. But you come for knowledge, I expect. Here's a story I heard in my Carisham days. You are welcome to it. Only remember me if you come to make the pilgrimage. Okay, so we've still got some health left over. So one of the things I could try and do to maximize my vitality gain is I think I could do one work session simultaneously with studying. So that would earn me 2 vitality, which I can then convert into a lesson learned. The problem with that, of course, is that it means that I'll spend less time in the Mansis. It also means that I spend less time reading books. So I quite like Teresa. But I think I am gonna... Well, hang on. I'm gonna get sick, so I am actually gonna hold off on going to the Mansis for the next little bit. Ink, paper, and the fizzling of electric lights. The office is dark when I leave. Outside on the pavement, I turn up my collar. So let's get big. I'll work with speed and in silence. I don't fear injury. Strathcoin's treasures. Out into the night, we escape unseen, but the next day there are reports of a fire at Strathcoin's. Did someone knock a live coal onto the hearth rug? Or did Strathcoin destroy the place himself as a part of some larger scheme? So there's the notoriety, unfortunately. I might have been able to time things out a little bit better and paint away with it. That would have saved me the weary detective picking it up. But I'm gonna have to deal with it at some point anyway. So we have the Journal of Alessandro Lacrosse. Prince Alessandro Lacrosse spent years in secret study of the tablets taken from the Fucine marshes in central Italy. His work will allow you to decipher those texts. Treatise on the Underplaces. Herein, the 7th century mystic and antiquarian Claude Hirschold describes the bounds or underplaces on the borders of dreams. He warns that they shift over time. We have Traveling at Night, Volume 3, the annotated dream journals of Christopher Elopoli, sometimes called the only readable occultist. Literate, entertaining, bewildering. This is the 3rd volume. The Wainscot Histories, subtitled Stories from Behind the Walls, a miscellany of non-traditional histories compiled by William Gore, including battles not generally acknowledged in countries which appear on no map, told in a playful, apparently fictional manner. And finally, The Locksmith's Dreams, Stolen Reflections, the 4th volume in Teresa Gallagher's expansive work, no longer a discussion on the dreams of artisans, but a valuable survey of other works. The tone is calmer than that of Trespasses, but occasionally fearful, even paranoid. This volume was published in 1926, but almost immediately recalled in pulp by the publisher at the request of the author or possibly the authorities, depending on which story you believe. A few copies survive. All right, now the big thing I got to think about right now is how do I make the most of the Voiceless Dead? The fact of the matter is that we're not really gonna be wanting to earn any notoriety. On the other hand, if I have sufficient knock, I might just be able to keep resummoning the Voiceless Dead. And I'll be honest, I don't actually have a really good answer for this. I think trying to do another expedition right now would not be my best idea because I don't have a good plan for dealing with with evidence. Although I suppose I could try and get the Voiceless Dead to do the job. It's a bit of a risk, but not one that... Like, it's not completely outside of the realm of possibility for me, I think. I think I might do that. But as it is, we've got a Furtive Truth that we can run with, so odd nooks remain in the quiet countryside here and there for those who know where to look. I am refreshed. Sorry, I'm trying to decide if I want to use study for health or something else. I think I'm going to leave Dream open for a bit. I'm safe for now. My adversary has not enough evidence to bring a case against me, and they found no new clues. Alright, so I need to stop being such a worrywart. I don't know if that changes my opinion about whether or not I'm going to generate notoriety, but I've at least got a lesson learnt. I'm going to take this health and use it for fresh air and exercise. I'm going to use this, I'm going to use the Dream for sleep. Actually, maybe I'll just use the Dream for... use money to heal. That wouldn't be the worst choice in the world, given that vitality is actually useful to me right now. So I'll just verify that I need... work. Oh, right, it's the study verb. Okay, so definitely G and G. Seeing as my health is currently occupied, will Dream for 30 seconds. I've got a new acquaintance. Welcome to Eldridge, an elegant man of inelegant habits. You might be able to recruit this acquaintance as a follower. I've got my mystique. And I got my passion. Now, Rhaenyra. Significant conversations in a smoky meeting room. What do I need from my follower? Invite them to an evening at the Ecdysis Club. Rhaenyra doesn't say a word. She only stretches splendidly and rises to stalk from the room, but she sends me a long glance back over her shoulder as she goes. I don't think I've done the Rhaenyra one. This place merits further investigation. Guare Inn, on a crumbling cliff above a grey sea. The Guare Inn squats until the day the sea comes for it. It receives few guests, fewer since the owner closed his notorious library to visiting scholars. Yeah, so I think I'm gonna need to. I'm gonna need to really roll the dice as far as these locations go. I really don't remember which is which anymore. That's fine. It keeps it fresh. So, for exploration, let's try and keep the Voiceless Dead alive for a little bit longer. I actually have things I want to do with my work verb. I'm going to need to find a way to get rid of restlessness, but I figure talk should handle that before too long. Oh, but this might mess up my date. We've got another shifty woman if I feel like I need more moth, but that's probably not quite what I need. Let's combine up the vitality before we run away. I wanted to test my hardened physique. I should have done that. The Grail has touched me with her wonderful fingers. It's almost time to perform the work and begin the changes, but I must have enough Grail aspect. Exploration might find more. Well, at the very least, I can pay for my medicine. Liaison? If I'm thinking of beginning a dalliance, then really this is the place. This is the place, if I and my companion share the same sensibilities. To begin an affair with this character, show that your deepest desires are aligned. Rhaenyra sits perfectly composed at the intersection of attention. Some audience members pay more attention to her than they do the dancers. We move together like one hot drop of wax running into another. I do hope you're not going to be foolish, she breathes, just before our lips meet. Alright, so, ink paper, fizzling of electric lights. The office is dark when I leave. Outside the pavement, I turn up my collar. Again, we will exert ourselves to the fullest of our abilities, but enough about Rhaenyra. I figure going as far as I can with the physique won't hurt at this moment. Oh god, we're going to have another restlessness. I think we'll be able to make some of this work. Alright. Interested. This is someone who has developed a romantic interest in me. So, let's get Eldridge in the cult before I get some free dread. Recruiting acquaintance by invoking Grail. This one is ready. Unfortunately, I don't think there's much that I can do about this restlessness that's about to appear. Hireling better not. I must be careful of the company I keep. Now, as far as exploration is concerned, I don't really think there's a lot for me to do right now, so we'll get him to search the city again just in case there's something interesting. We do have a season of suspicion coming up, so that notoriety is going to cause me some grief. I've learned, I'm ready to grow stronger. Use this lesson learned with your strength skill. So, just while damn it. Do I really want to wait for this, or do I want to churn out another vitality from health? You now know the answer. I might have found somewhere unusual. Alright, this is definitely an interesting one to check out, but I think I'm going to keep the Voiceless Dead around. I have slightly higher priorities right now. The sick room grows close and stale, time to get up. Alright, so again, with 40 seconds left on Glover and Glover, there's really not a whole lot that I can do painting-wise. My restlessness will last for another 40 seconds, so not enough for me to get the day done. And they will not forget the savor I have given them. Eldridge. Eldridge has almost learnt not to pick his teeth with his knife in conversation. He has not yet learnt to leave his knife in his boot. So not much I can do about recruitment. And the evidence isn't a problem yet, so I guess we keep talking about the Red Secret. Maybe we'll generate enough mystique to give me what I need. Oh god. Another restlessness. More restlessness than I know what to do with. Should be fixing my health. This is helpful. Professional muscle. I don't know if I want to. Pay for that though, because it's going to be costly to maintain. Oh, welcome back, Remarkable Frisbee. We started dating Rhaenyra. Just felt like the right thing to do. Alright. So there's some extra vitality if I need it. Let's take a quick second here. It was 3 that I needed, so perfect. This means I can at least get 1 painting in. What am I trying to do with Dream again? Just go through the door. There is no possible way. He's not picking up that. He's got it. Damn you! Alright, looks like I don't have a recruit, but that's fine because we'll paint away the restlessness. Of course, the weary detective did just take up all my notoriety. You know, like I won't be getting any money off of this painting, but that's fine. We'll paint for passion, which will probably help us with the dread. And the only question is whether or not it'll be fascination or contentment that gets rid of it. So one of the reasons why I need to be more careful about restlessness is the fact that I'm recycling the voiceless dead. So I don't know if this was ever intended as something to prevent me from spamming this particular follower to keep it from being... man, this is merciless. I don't know if this is specifically intended to keep me from spamming this particular character over and over and over again, but given the fact that it's Moth potentially brings up old and happy far off things, and old and happy far off things brings up restlessness, and of course if you don't deal with restlessness, then you wind up with free dread. So I have a few ideas about how to deal with all of this. Painting is one, recruiting cultists is another. But the fact of the matter is that if I were to get old and happy far off things, I would have 2 restlessness that I can't really deal with in the moment. And of course, I already have my 1 dread here. So, Glumbrain, how you doing? My streams are the reason you bought this game. I hope you like the game then, because I'm going to feel very self-conscious if you picked up the game and didn't like it. But that has definitely been one of the most rewarding things about streaming this game, is that this one in particular has had the largest number of people coming in and saying, like, you know, I never would have checked this out if you hadn't streamed it, or, I finally tried it and it was really worth it, or just generally it's been very rewarding to have people kind of come in and sort of specifically tell me what the influence of the broadcast has had. You really enjoy the game. It's got a great feeling along with it. Fits that need. Yeah, well, I mean, I think this is the reason why I think, like, this game, when it was released, became #1 on the Steam page. And it obviously had a successful Kickstarter. It's not that there wasn't any indication that the game might meet with success. But if you were to sit down and tell someone, okay, I'm going to give you a chance to invest in something, and you get a portion of the first day's revenues, but only the first day's revenues. It's a card game, it doesn't have a tutorial, the writing's kind of abstract, and it's really about, like, learning the game as you play it. And I need to stress there's no tutorial, and you need to learn how the rituals work by putting the cards, like, together in unique combinations. Oh, and by the way, there's no tutorial. And but don't worry, because, like, some of the spells are sort of like, they're sort of hinted at if you read the right books and you're paying attention to the text. It's like, oh yeah, and by the way, most of the action is in writing. But you can drag cards around on the desk. And oh, and by the way, there's no tutorial. How much would you like to pay in order to get the revenues from day one? I wouldn't put a lot of money down on that. With all due respect to Weather Factory, like, they made a really good game, but I would not have put my money on this thing being #1 on the day that it was released. But with that said, it's because it's such a polarizing game. It's because it's such a unique game. You have no competition when you do a unique game. Cultist Simulator is the only place where you can play something like Cultist Simulator. And it's been really, for me, I think the thing that's been really rewarding has been the number of people who stop by and mention, whether I was the one to draw their attention to it, or whether they really enjoyed the game and they're looking for people who also enjoyed the game. It's been quite unique to see how welcoming people are. Even the Steam forums, from what I understand, are relatively tame for Steam forum. Well, I mean, a studio did make it. It's the Weather Factory did, but obviously they're a micro studio of 2 people now. So, you may not know it to look at me, but I have grown as strong as a smith or a soldier, and will grow stronger still, or stronger yet, as the game instructs. I will just caution you, Glumbrain. I was kind of supposed to be done about half an hour ago, so we may only have a few minutes together. But I will be back next week, and we'll be doing more of this playthrough. So, if our time together is brief, and again, I always threaten to go to bed, and then I wind up playing a lot longer than I normally do. But full disclosure, and if our time is brief, then I hope we get a chance to talk about how cool this game is another time. Many of the dead enter the mantis through the white door. They wander its corridors in silence until they are lost. Some embrace each other, some devour each other, some force their way into the dreams of the living. A few record their memories on mantis stone where it is soft. They scratch it with their nails, you see. Last night I read one of those memories. I've already taken care of growing stronger, and I don't think I want to waste my opportunities to read books to get that 4th level. So let's just keep going back through the door. All that I am is here. Magnificent work. I've created something distinctive and beautiful. It will very likely enhance my reputation. Just what I needed. We can learn from each other. New patron. Oh, that's right. We did have a new patron coming up. I forgot about that. Welcome, Sulochana, the laconic, energetic, bright-eyed, unblinking owner of the Icdices Club. So let's get some commissions. The Good Count's fraternity in Europe is seeking particular research. Oh, and the artist reward. My recent work has attracted a couple of callers. With luck, something will sell. Alright, so I got fascination for my trouble, but I can get rid of my dread accordingly. Contentment will also help me get rid of my dread. A dump truck full of glimmering, not that I really need it right now. Yeah, 1 funds. We paid for the paints. Alright, that's fine, because I need to go work at my crappy job anyway. Before you go, what is your favorite of the cult aspects, just aesthetically? So I thought I might have said this before, but you're probably out. Mirror of Glory, for sure. I am a huge lantern guy. Oh, actually, you know what, Marco Frisbee? And for those of you that haven't seen this yet, this might be of interest to you. I have shown mathematically why the Mirror of Glory is the best cult. So for those of you who are fans of Cultist Simulator but haven't seen my blog, that is my blog. You can also just go to systemchalk.ca. It'll redirect you to that page. Not that specific page, which is the article, but there is the article I linked you to is called The Networks of Cultist Simulator. It's the most recent thing that I wrote. And what this was, so I'm sure most of you may know that there is the ability to mod this game. And one of the ways that you can mod it, of course, is the fact that all of the cards, or elements specifically, are available in as JSON files. They're not specific, like it's not JSON. It is not the actual specification of JSON. So if you try and put it through like a parser in Python, you're gonna get some angry error messages. But Lyra Zyder, who in addition to working on this game is responsible for the Frangiclave, was kind enough to help me out with the tools to turn all the JSON files into a database. So once you're able to parse the JSON of the game, and you can write your own parser if you really want, because I mean that's how they made the game. But what that gives you is all of the information about the cards, or specifically the elements in the game, because not everything on this graph is a is a card. For instance, there is no Grail card, there is no Lantern card. There isn't even a follower card. Follower is an aspect, and so that's the difference between a card and an element. But essentially, what you can do with all of these relationships, as long as you come up with sort of a meaningful definition in terms of what it means for a card to be connected, you can use all of these interesting ideas from graph theory, which usually you just go directly to network analysis. But if you're mathematically inclined, maybe you want to do some fancy stuff with the graph. I mean, the overlap between the two disciplines is really strong. But essentially what this is it explains exactly how I built that network. And what it does is it comes up with a bunch of different measures as to, what the various kinds of influence the different aspects have. And as far as I'm concerned, the true answer is that Lantern is the best. But hopefully some of you at least find that interesting. But yeah, unquestionably, my aesthetically, gameplay-wise, everything about it, ever since I first played Cultist Simulator, I've been big on Lantern and the Mirror of Glory. Although, if it really comes down to it, if I'm totally honest, I probably like it because it was the first one. But Plagus, how you doing? Great to see you. Sulachana stubs out her cigarette. Oh, sorry, we should read. Yeah, we got that already. Sulachana stubs out her cigarette. Yes, if you want to study the language with me, yes, you can. Was there something else? Well, I didn't actually want to study. Oh, that's right. I don't actually have anything I can do with her. On the Ecdysis Club. Yes. This is really just kind of so I can do something. Doing mostly good. I think I'm doing mostly good too, Plagus. I should warn you, I'm probably going to wrap up relatively soon, and I feel like that's happened the last few times you've come by, so I should feel bad. But, well, crap. I think I'll be able to at least get rid of the Dread and Fascinate. Oh yeah, actually no, this is going to work perfectly for me, so let's bring the Voicelstad back into searching. It happens every time, don't feel bad. Yeah, technically I should be done streaming by 11 o'clock, but in a lot of situations, I just wind up going later, or I start later, and as a result, the one thing I don't like doing is cutting back on casts. I was really close to doing it this time because I was feeling a little bit woolly, but I'm glad I didn't, because obviously, whether it's new faces like Remarkable Frisbee or, familiar ones like Dodge Viper GT, Erasmus, even I know Ether Dragon isn't here, but Olaf is usually lurking. Mad King Brutos, I think you might have logged off for tonight, but, definitely. And sorry, apologies if I forgot your name in the roll call. I'm just kind of trying to flip through what some names I remember from chat. It's been very pleasant to catch up with a number of you. So, anyways, I'm certain my adversary has lodged a copy of their notes elsewhere, with their solicitor, with their superior, or even with a contact in the press. This is troubling. Actually, Remarkable Frisbee, you're asking me these really interesting questions about the game, but I really feel like I'm not doing the most I can with them. What are your answers to these? I'm curious about. So you asked me who your favorite character was, either as a romance option or who my favorite character was. So I'll ask you who your favorite character is, either aesthetically or as a romance option, or they may be one and the same. And while I'm interrogating, what's your favorite cult? And if you have a reason, I'd love to hear it. And I did, of course, direct that to Remarkable Frisbee for asking them, but I figured that's probably not a bad point to end the stream on. So if any of you have any feelings along those lines, I know some of you have shared it inside of chat already, so this may not be as exciting for some of you, but I'd be interested in hearing the results nonetheless. So if any of you have any views on this, feel free to let them be known. So I'm going to annihilate let's do the Orchard of Lights, because I might get a contentment. Oh, I dodged a fascination at least, so glimmering. Okay. The sun and splendor, the hour who once ruled the Mansus, was known to walk in the orchard before his terrible division. Sometimes the remnants walk here still, sometimes I see the chilly radiance of the Menascate through the trees, or the chillier radiance of the sun and rags. Were they to come upon me, it might be my end, but to see them in the distance is a gift of insight. So I'm going to put a bunch of stuff on the board. It may be a good idea right now for me to just leave myself a lot of stuff open for the start of next stream. That way I'll be able to work out a game plan. Let's definitely put the tentative evidence by the weary detective. I could carry a man across a river now, or strangle him. So I've got a steely physique. There are many things now that I could crush with my fists. So 4 lessons learned. By the way, I'm an idiot. If I'd clicked on this, it would have said use this with. So 4 lessons learned is going to be a little bit tougher to get with my vitality, but I think we can make it work. Glumbrain says you bought a bundle of merch from the Weather Factory Etsy, and they were kind enough to give you a sticker pack full of the Wildwood Club stuff. Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, I bought one of the collections. I should actually mention for the Steam streams that I did, Weather Factory gave me a really wonderful notebook from the Etsy shop. I felt so happy when I saw that, because I don't know if they still do it, but it was like this really neat purple sort of bubble wrapping. So it was really distinctive, and I felt super happy when I saw that. But yeah, I also, there's someone a very big fan of, well, not a very big fan, but someone who I'm very fond of who stops by the stream, the Eyes of Sin, and I happen to know that she's really big on pins and stickers. So the Eyes of Sin is the person who's made these lovely emotes. And a reminder for those of you, so you'll notice that System 1 Glad, System 1 Sad, and System 1 Dumb. Oh no, sorry, System 1 Dumb is cropped. System 1 Glad and System 1 Sad are full faces, so I misinterpreted what the Eyes of Sin gave me. The Eyes of Sin actually gave me the original files for creating these, from which they should be cropped. So that was a little feedback that I wound up giving her. And ultimately, I said, I really like them, but it looks like they're a lot smaller than the other emotes that are here. And she's like, yeah, because I gave you the originals, and you can you can make them as close as you want. And I felt like an idiot because that is the laziest possible thing that I could not do. But one way or the other, I'm really happy with her work. She's definitely been paid for it, but she's not always had the easiest time of things. At the time that the Etsy shop opened, so I decided to get her a little Cultist Simulator goodie bag, and I happened to mention that when I did the order, put a special mention saying she's really fond of Grail, and I'm sure it would mean a lot if you did a quick signature. So they added a little Grail postcard and with the signatures on it, which was incredibly nice. Best girl is Dorothy. Best cult is the Wildwood Club. Oh, a Moth follower. You just feel like the aesthetic of Moth is definitely your favorite. Dorothy is one of your favorites aesthetically as well as your first follower in your first game, so you have a bit of a soft spot. That is a really neat one. I'm ashamed to admit, I actually don't remember who my first follower was. I think Neville might have been the first cult member you could find. You know what's funny? I don't remember if my very first Cultist Simulator stream was also the very first time I played Cultist Simulator. So that might be that might actually be on YouTube. It's a little project for me to work on, I think. Okay, let me wrap up. So definitely I want to get rid of the fascination to eliminate the dread. Regrettably, my contentment will perish in 18 seconds. I think there's a couple of corny things I can do to keep it, but no point. I'll come by my wins honestly. I'm wasting the talk verb for no discernible reason. I don't think there's necessarily any advantage to me exploring, but let's explore the uncanny tangle of streets by the light of the moon. So I lied. I'm going to actually do everything. If I do. This is what I would do to save contentment. I mean, can't be cheap. I'm gonna talk about how happy I am. And I'm just trying to decide what book I want to read. So there's, you know what? I'm gonna do the Orchid Transfigurations. I need to translate it, which I don't like, but I'm going to have to translate it at some point anyway. So, lock the study door, the work begins. 16th century alchemical fever dream attributed to Robert Flood, frequently banned for the disturbing allure of its illustrations. This is in the original Latin. All right, so next week, actually, yeah, because there's some new faces in here, and I haven't completely lost everyone. I'd love it if you guys would hang around. I'll try and find someone to host. I'm not 100% sure who that is yet, but I'll try and keep it brief. I'll try and keep the search brief. So the regular streaming days, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I have tried to start at 7. I have largely failed to start at 7 sharp each evening. But I do allow myself an hour window. If you don't see me start streaming past 8, that usually means something has gone wrong. Either I'm sick, my power's out, any of the life things that can get in the way. But if you're wondering where I am at 7 o'clock, it's probably just because something's been really tough. And, the fact of the matter is, I don't do this for a living, so I try not to take the audience for granted. But it's one of these cases where I do need to be taking a little bit better care of myself, especially just given how I've been feeling the past couple of days. I can't attribute all of that to my less than ideal work environment. But today's delay was about doing a job application, so and I'm actually probably gonna get. I think I've got 2 easy to do ones. I feel there's some momentum behind that. But with that in mind, so Monday is usually a Paradox Grand Strategy game. We've been usually doing Stellaris. So particularly for those of you interested in Stellaris, that might be a nice opportunity to see what it looks like. It is near the end of the game, so it's going to be a very complicated, very big empire, but sometimes it's fun to see the extremes where everything goes. Friday has been opened up, so we finished Outer Wilds, which I had a ton of fun with, but I have not 100% decided what game yet. There is actually a game that I've been sitting on that a developer gave me a key for, but I also think that one, the developer specifically asked me to put some time into like really properly understanding the how the game worked. And while I normally like to go in blind for games, I also think that if a developer sort of has a recommendation for how the game should be played or portrayed, I should be addressing. So if I don't agree with it, I should be addressing that before I accept the key, not dropping it on them after the fact. So I kind of want to do this new game on Friday, but that's going to depend on whether or not I can actually find the time to get it done. If not, I'm pretty sure whatever I wind up picking, if it's not that new game, I definitely have some stuff that people have maybe even forgotten I was doing, but really want to see come back. So I think whatever happens Friday, I think most people are going to be pretty happy. Sorry to be mysterious about it, though. If you're only here for Cultist Simulator, obviously that'll be back next Wednesday, and we'll be picking up from where we went along. And my main focus on the next episode is definitely going to be trying to get the Stag Doors riddle. My computer is really failing to load web pages. Hey, there we go. Take care. Glad I stopped by, and I'll hopefully be here next stream. I hope you are too. But obviously, if it's not your cup of tea, there is no hard feelings. I really appreciate you stopping by and being so pleasant in chat. Remarkable Frisbee. And again, it's not Cultist Simulator on Friday if that is what you're coming here for. But I'm always happy to see people who come for Cultist Simulator and decide to hang around for more adventures. It helps me, obviously, to help grow the channel. So we've got... unfortunately, nobody else is playing Cultist Simulator right now. I am the top Cultist Simulator stream. Sniper Guy is doing an RPG, like an RPG session, but I also know he usually ends around this time. So you know what? I've not hosted this person in a while, and I think it'd be great to do this. So this is Melee Mage. It's spelled M-E-E-L-E-M-A-G-E. And I know the literate audience of Cultist Simulator is going to have a big problem with that. He is currently playing Brigandaline, I think it's pronounced. Anyways, I've not seen this game before, but he used to work in game development. I think he's currently looking for his next gig. It's hex-based, so I'm already going to be really interested in what's going on here. But he's a variety caster. He's actually pretty consistent. And... he is someone I've had the pleasure of drinking with at a bar, which is no longer in Vancouver, but called EXP. I have some very fond memories there, and definitely the Melee Mage was a big part of that. So I'd love it if you guys would stick around for the host. I know I'm bleeding out a few viewers, but hopefully he will entertain you in a way that I've not been able to past the current hour. Until next time, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in a couple days.